maybe it's me, right? Like, it might. I acknowledge I'm not like everybody else. I have different interests, different things get me going. I acknowledge all of that. I am not the same. But if it were me, I would really just hate to be the team that blew a 5-run lead, allowed 5 or more unearned runs, committed 3 or more errors, a catcher's interference, and a balk.
I'm leaving today.
All in the same game, which just happened to be the game that ended my season and caused me to lose the World Series. Maybe other people are into it, right? Like, again, I don't want to speak on behalf of an entire society. It might very well be that there are Yankees fans who are like, hell yeah, brother. Made some history last night. Did you know that set of circumstances? That's the first time in any MLB game ever
They did all those things.
that all of those things have occurred. Not just in a World Series game, not in a deciding game. First time it's happened in any MLB game ever that a team has blown a 5-run lead, allowed 5 unearned runs, committed 3 or more errors, a catcher's interference, and a balk. That's history right there, baby.
That footage courtesy of Fox, by the way.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah. Good for them. Hey man, look, I am not a Dodgers fan. I'm not going to pretend like I'm happy for the Dodgers. I have no feelings whatsoever for the Dodgers, and if I do have any, they're largely negative. It's like anybody that was trying to make that seem like it was embraceable, like, what a feel-good story. All of the most expensive players in baseball on one team celebrate. And then the nonsense like, well, they've just been through so much. Yeah, they sure have. God. Overcoming all of the odds, like having all of the good players. Just a real feel-good story. Bull S. But they're not the Yankees.
They're not the Yankees.
And because of that, the smallest of hat tips, thank you, but there is no...
I'm trying to think. There were no connections.
Oh, Jack Flaherty.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Legend Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, Game 5, the hero.
And he really ate up some innings for him.
Boy, did he. He certainly started that game. Of all of the starts there have been, his was the start that happened yesterday. So got that going for him, which is nice. Look, man, it's over, and we can laugh at the Yankees, but at the same time, it's very hollow because like the Orioles should have been. The Yankees stunk. Yeah. The fact that the Orioles fell apart the way that they did, it was sort of like rubbing it in as the playoffs went on. Like, that...
Because the Orioles are the only team in the American League that could beat the Yankees, apparently.
And they should have.
Yeah.
And, but whatever. The Yankees didn't win the World Series, so we've got that going for us, which is nice. Like, there is that. And now it's over, and you want me to... if you're a Dodgers fan, I'm sure you are feeling every ounce of the, Walker Buehler's a hero, and Blake, I'm sure you're feeling every ounce of that.
They are.
I ain't a Dodgers fan. So no. But, again, you prevented the Yankees from winning, so you got that going for you, and we acknowledge and appreciate it. Good morning. It's a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. We got a lot to do on the program today. Coming up in a few minutes, we are going to catch up with Anish Shroff, play-by-play voice of the Carolina Panthers, and one of the top voices in, of course, college lacrosse, amongst other things. Get his thoughts on Diontae Johnson and the fit that will be here in Baltimore later on. We'll make our picks with our buddy Ken Zalis. We'll catch up with former NFL linebacker Kirk Morrison. He is on the call for Navy Rice Saturday on ESPN2 as the Mids look to bounce back. We'll talk some NFL stuff with him as well. I think he's pretty heavily involved with the Rams, so I don't know what the Rams are still being talked about. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, I think at this point we now know they're not trading. Like, I cannot fathom after you beat the Vikings and you're right in the mix for a playoff berth that you turn around and trade Cooper Kupp now. But Tre'Davious White's name keeps coming up, and I've seen him connected to the Ravens by some various NFL folks. So we'll talk about that with Kirk Morrison. And our buddy Brandon Stokley is back with us today. Of course, Ravens Super Bowl 35 champion, and now part of the Broncos universe, as he's a host on 104.3 The Fan out in Denver. So we will preview Sunday's game with him. All of that coming up on the program today. Couple of things out of the chute. Thanks to everybody who was part of the college basketball show yesterday. Always something that we like to do. We'll do it again in college lacrosse season. There's 2 days a year where we don't do normal content on this show. 2. Well, I mean, we probably don't do normal content every day, but normal for us.
The holiday show.
Yeah, well, all right. That's 3. Never mind. Take it back. 3. 3 days. We even try to squeeze in some content that day, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I guess
I don't know.
year
Sometimes we do
like an interview or two.
Sometimes we do picks. Sometimes we do try to squeeze in some normal content.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We do
But yeah, we've done this for years, and it's part of the thing that I care about. Like, I think that local sports content should be local and should be invested and should be involved. And this is the thing that I like about not being on the radio, because on the radio they'd say, if you spend 30 seconds not talking about the Ravens, you have no audience. Okay, well, yesterday we had a different audience, perhaps. If yesterday wasn't for you, all good. I get it. I didn't like every guest that David Letterman had. When he had, I vividly remember him putting on Spencer from, what was that show called? The Hills, or whatever that god-awful reality. And, I loved Letterman and watched every night. And I said, this one's not the one for me. That's okay. It's all good. If yesterday wasn't for you, that's fine. I hope you're back today. If you decide that one show of doing different content is the type of thing that makes you never want to come back, we'll miss you. That's just the way that we will. We'll miss you. That's the way it goes. But it is my belief that being a local sports fan should make you invested and interested in what's happening locally, not just the Ravens, not just the Orioles. Although, again, we do all kinds of Ravens and Orioles. But I appreciate everybody who...
Yeah, we're not all Fallon. We can't get the Rizzler and AJ and
right,
Justice,
great point. Yeah, those the big guys.
Yeah.
A-list guests. So, yeah, enjoyed that. And, we'll, of course, have Patrick on every week, and we'll continue to be paying attention to and talking about local college sports. And, as if Towson really does compete to win the CAA this year, then you'll probably hear lots of coverage of Towson basketball as the season goes on. If Morgan's in the mix in the MEAC, same thing. Any of these local teams that are doing relevant and interesting things, we will be talking
and
about
even
it.
A small school like Maryland, somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
Those underdogs. Like the LA Dodgers. No. I mean, yeah, absolutely. We'll do plenty of Maryland coverage as the season goes on as well. Number 2, that meant that we didn't get to spend a lot of time talking about Tre'Davious White. No, not Tre'Davious White.
Oh,
I just
wait,
have.
You know something?
I have it. I have it in front of me because I was going to talk to
do you
Kirk
know?
Morrison about him. Didn't get to spend a lot of time talking about Diontae Johnson. That said, as I did say at the end of the show yesterday, it's the mildest of mild takes. There is no way to have anything other than a super mild take about Diontae Johnson today. If your take is anything other than, okay, cool, I don't know what in the world it would be based off of. They paid nothing for Diontae Johnson. It's comical. This report yesterday that there were 2 other teams in the mix for Diontae Johnson and the Ravens had the best offer. What in the ever-loving F were the other offers? Tickets to see the Joker? I mean, my God, how could there be less of an offer? The only thing I could imagine is a 6th and a 7th round swap. The Ravens swapped essentially 20 picks within a late round of the draft. Didn't give up a draft pick, just moved 20 picks back in the late rounds and paid almost $0 for Diontae Johnson. It's insane. Now, if your feelings about Diontae Johnson are, well, he doesn't catch the ball. There have been a few people that have done the work on that. 2 years ago, he did not catch the ball. In 2022, he had a brutal season. Since then, drops haven't really been an issue for Diontae Johnson any more than any other guy. In 2022, it was awful. Awful. But post-2022, I think I've seen that he's dropped 4 total balls over the last season and a half. I don't know. I haven't gone back and watched every single one of them. Maybe one of them was key. I don't know. And that's why we still think of him as having poor hands. And trust me, I felt the same way. I remember Diontae Johnson being someone who had hands issues. But the numbers don't back up that is still a concern in 2024. That could change. That could come back within a couple of weeks. But at the moment, the trend would suggest this isn't really a problem. We'll run it by Anish Shroff, see what he says. The other thing, of course, being the locker room stuff. I would say off the field stuff, but some of it, kind of came up on the field, and the issues that maybe he had with Mike Tomlin, and the fight that he got into with Minkah Fitzpatrick, and the thing where someone, I think it was Jaylen Warren, fumbled and he appeared to give no effort to recover the ball. And that stuff ain't great. And the fact that the Panthers were look, it made sense that the Panthers wanted to trade Diontae Johnson. He's a pending free agent. It doesn't really make sense that they were so desirous to trade him that they just took nothing. But again, you can only trade him if somebody's willing to offer something. And if part of their interest in moving him for nothing was simply because he had become poisonous again in the Panthers locker room, then yeah, that ain't great. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. The first way of looking at it is this is probably the best situation he's ever been in. You can say, hey, the Steelers were competitive when he was there, but not like having a chance to win a Super Bowl competitive. Like, my God, it's a miracle that somehow you looked up and they had 9 wins and they could sneak into the playoffs competitive. He's never had a good quarterback. Never. I believe his rookie season was tail-end Ben Roethlisberger, who could hardly throw the ball.
That might have even been the season that he got hurt, I think, his rookie year.
That might be right.
Yeah, so it was like.
But I'm pretty sure he played with Ben Roethlisberger. But even that, that Ben,
when they went 11-0.
Yeah, that Ben Roethlisberger wasn't good. Yeah, Duck Hodges, Dexter McDoon. I used to do different names for Duck Hodges because it was just so stupid. Like, what is this? Yeah, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Landry Jones, all of them. He's never had a good quarterback. That doesn't guarantee that he's going to be happy. And if he comes in and his role is limited, what Josina Anderson reported, the Ravens don't see him as a top 2 wide receiver. And they shouldn't. Now, if Rashad Bateman continues to have drops issues, that could change. But I was going to say one game, it's really one quarter, is not going to be enough for me to measure against everything else that Rashad Bateman's done this season where he's looked very good. But if that continues, if Rashad Bateman doesn't catch the football moving forward, then we can talk about that. But right now, there's no world in which you should view Diontae Johnson ahead of or above Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman. The Ravens are kind of acknowledging they think he needs to help out in the punt return game. The part of this is about the Deontay Hardy injury. Okay, he hasn't done it in a while, but he's got the speed. If he's willing to, if he says, I'm so happy to be in a better situation that, yeah, sign me up, I'll return some punts, all good. Now, if you acquire him, and again, he's a surly prick, and he says, return punts, don't you know who I am? And this is what it keeps, even if he's a problem, you know what the Ravens do in 3 weeks? They let him go. Because he cost them nothing. Nothing. This is the definition of low risk. I'm not giving you low risk, high reward because I think that's impractical. I think it's low risk, potential solid reward.
I mean, he helps him win a Super Bowl. Like that's
Maybe, right.
That's the
But I don't know that he's going to be the difference in that. Like, I would be stunned by Diontae Johnson. Now, that being said, like, I like the idea of having a third receiver that's a bit.
receiver.
Yes. And I like the idea of Nelson Aguilar now being remember last year we kept saying, like, Nelson Aguilar might be the best fourth receiver in all of football. I like everything about that. I'm all good with that. But again, if those things that have been issues for him are issues for him again in Baltimore, and he's a problem, and he's unhappy, and the ball isn't being thrown his way enough, and he's acting up, and being in a good situation doesn't change any of that, then you just let him go. Because it costs you nothing. There's just no way to have any other feeling about Diontae Johnson. The only other take, of course, being this can't be it. And that's fair. This can't be it. I mean, it might be, I guess. Like, we can't guarantee they're going to make another move, but it shouldn't be. This shouldn't be it. It shouldn't be that the Ravens say, well, that's what we did. And a lot of people are saying that, well, this is the Ravens not acknowledging they just have to score 50 points a game and they put all of their focus on offense. And I think this was the deal that they had the chance to make, and so they made it. And as we talked about with cap space, they have a limited amount of cap space. And considering the Panthers are not making them pay anything for Diontae Johnson, they didn't have to do anything else in order to make this move. When it was on the table, they were able to make it without having to do anything else with anyone else's deals. It was a no-brainer for the Ravens to make this move when they made it. Whatever else they might do. And I told you guys after watching on Monday, I'm more and more convinced that like the practical best option for answering edge rush is Azeez Ojulari. But whether it's that or whether they are in on a player in the secondary, whether it's Tre'Davious White, Marshawn Lattimore, someone along those lines, whatever it might be, they need. And maybe you throw in now, boy, there would be nothing more Ravens-like than to trade for a defensive tackle, right? But with Michael Pierce going to IR, they are thin at defensive tackle, a position that historically the Ravens hate to be thin at. They like having 8 of them, 10 of them. In those early John Harbaugh years, the number of guys that were on the roster that were defensive tackles that weren't even really part of the rotation, because these are all guys that I was friends with, like Brandon McKinney and Lamar Divins and Kelly Talavu. They love having more defensive tackles. I could absolutely see them poking around in that area, and that's not going to be sexy, and that's not going to make us all that excited, but maybe they find somebody that could also be helpful, that as a defensive tackle can also be helpful in the edge rush department. I don't know who that is. I don't have that thought, but suddenly there's a need there. Not that Michael Pierce is expected to miss the entirety of the season, but, you know, that's the reality. He's on IR. They're a little bit thin there. And I don't know if Brent Urban's going to be good to go this week or not. But, yeah, that's the entirety of the thought about Diontae Johnson. Okay, cool. Cool. And the report from Josina Anderson yesterday makes all the sense in the world. There should be reason to think that he could be better or in a better headspace here than he was in other places. But if he's a problem, so what? You have the ability to just say, well, we tried. And if this dude is causing problems and is creating issues and other guys in the locker room say, yo, I can't deal with this guy, then the Ravens have the ability to say, okay, and move on from him. Which you don't really want to do, because then you run the risk of what if he were to sign with Kansas City, right? Like, I'd be surprised if the Ravens get to that point. But if it really is, if you're that worried about Diontae Johnson being a head case, there is that option. There is no harm. So you move back 20 spots in the draft. It was 1,000% worth it.
It's the Bill Belichick scene from the Aaron
Yes,
Hernandez show?
exactly like that, right? And it's a fourth round pick. Whatever you want to say. I just want to say one other thing before we get to a break. I was not aware of this, and I just saw it this morning on Facebook, and I just want to take a second here. I think anybody who listens to this show regularly knows how much we love our friend Pete Medhurst, play-by-play voice at Navy. You hear him on WBAL. He's done play-by-play for the Nationals over the years. He does Big Ten Network lacrosse, all sorts of other stuff. I've done a lot of high school football with him over the years, among other things. He was on 106.7 with the Junkies down in D.C., did D.C. United for a while. Like I call him the franchise, jokingly. He's one of my favorite human beings. And I will tell you that Pete, for those that don't know, like when the radio station went under in 2014 and I kind of didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know Pete personally at the time. I only kind of knew of Pete. And I connected with him when I started working down at CBS in D.C., and he immediately became like a brother to me. And I mean that in every sense of the world. I joke about how he's sort of like an older brother to me. And has been a regular on this show over the years, and just takes time. We just had a phone call like 2 weeks ago. I actually wanted his help. I think I've told you guys I'm back in school, taking some classes, and I wanted his help with something that I was doing, and we ended up talking on the phone for 2 hours. Because we just talk shop and talk about the business and various things and laugh, and there are not three people in this industry that have been more impactful to me than Pete Medhurst is. I was unsure of myself when I got back into doing play-by-play. It had been since college that I had done play-by-play. It was not part of my professional plans. And then in 2014, suddenly I sitting here at 31 trying to figure out what I was going to do, and play-by-play was on the table. And Pete was not only encouraging and helpful, but he then asked me to be his fill-in for DC United. I didn't think I was prepared to do it. I'm like, hey, bro, I just got back into doing this. I've only been doing soccer. I never didn't even do soccer in college. I'd only been doing soccer for months. And he was like, let me hear you. And immediately said, I even tried. This is a straight shoot. I even tried to say no the first time he asked me because I used having a Loyola game as an excuse. The real answer was I just didn't think I was good enough. And it took one conversation for him to say, I'll call Loyola and tell him you can't do the game. You're doing this. That's how good of a guy Pete Medhurst is. Pete's wife shared this morning that Pete has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's having surgery to remove a brain tumor. And I don't know yet. My buddy Brian Powell, I've been asking him to ask around because I know how connected he is in Navy circles. Anything that we can do to lift up Pete Medhurst, I'm going to be hammering you guys about. If there's a GoFundMe type of thing, like, we're going to lift up Pete Medhurst. Pete, I love you. Like, I call him the franchise. I really do. Like, every time. Hey, Pete would, like, message me, hey, man, can I come do something at Stevenson for you? This is a guy that, has every big, broadcasting job, and he wanted to come do a Stevenson hockey game. He's like, I just want to stay sharp on hockey. Can I come do a hockey game at Stevenson? Can I come be your color analyst for lacrosse? Like, just the best. If you take a minute today, I shared what his wife said on Facebook, and if you just go to my Facebook, facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio, click on the link of what she shared, maybe send her a note, let his family know you're thinking about him. But anything that we can do for the Medhurst family, we're going to do, because there really are not three people in this business that have been more impactful to me than Pete Medhurst is. And buddy, I love you, and you got this, and I know you got this, and we will be behind you every step of the way. go kick this thing's ass. We'll come back in. We'll talk to our friend Anish Shroff about Diontae Johnson. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, it is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Today's show brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is available for. Oh, I forgot that I gave my copy to Kevin Brodus yesterday. So Griffin's got a copy over there. You see it. The Baltimore-built duo of Julian Reese and Derek Queen on the cover. Former St. Francis teammates reuniting in College Park, trying to bring Maryland basketball back to prominence. Great story from Brooks Dubose about them. Also, lots of college hoops inside this print issue of Press Box. Go pick it up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms or any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com, that print issue of Press Box. Free today at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Please go pick it up right now. All right. Yes. So, Baltimore Ravens have a new wide receiver. He's in the mix. He practiced for the first time yesterday, expected to make his debut Sunday against the Broncos. He is Diontae Johnson. Let's find out a little bit more about the newest Baltimore Raven. Our next guest, the play-by-play voice of the Carolina Panthers. He is our friend Anish Shroff, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Anish, it's Glenn in Baltimore. Always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course, anytime. I'm just In the car on my way to getting a haircut and stopping by Panthers practice before I headed to Boca Raton for a little Friday night football on the ESPN networks tomorrow.
Little Florida Atlantic, is that that's the play for this week?
Yeah, a little USF FAU Friday night on ESPN2 with no World Series now as competition.
It's good. That is. Well, I don't know. It probably means there's a few more eyeballs. So I think it's probably a good thing. Let me say this way, Anish. Right? Like, I understand why the Panthers would be interested in trading Diontae Johnson. You're probably not winning anything, and he's a pending free agent. It makes sense. But to trade him for nothing, right? Like to eat up basically all the salary, and that to still only get you a late round pick swap, it certainly suggests there might be a little bit more going on there. Why would the Panthers be so desirous of getting rid of Diontae Johnson that they would take essentially nothing for him?
Well, you got to think of what the infrastructure is right now with a first-year GM and a first-year head coach. And this is a franchise and a team coming off a 2-15 season. So culture and getting your foundation in place and getting the guys who want to be there is important. And if you had heard some of Diontae's comments over the first half of the season, there was a play a few weeks ago where he and Andy Dalton miscommunicated, and Diontae cut the route short, led to an interception. Dalton was visibly upset on the sidelines after the pick, and then after the game, Diontae's comments were something along the lines of, well, I can't play every position. And there have kind of been grumblings about that. If you go back to the offseason, again, this is a guy who was a productive receiver, one of the best route runners, a guy who has a knack for getting open, and Pittsburgh essentially dumped him on Carolina for another expiring contract in Diontae Jackson. It wasn't a lot that Carolina gave up for him in the first place. So I think it's going to be an interesting situation in Baltimore because he's not going to get the ball as much as he was getting it in Carolina or even Pittsburgh. You guys run two tight ends. Mm-hmm. You run the ball more than any other team. And who's to say he's going to slide right in as that number 2 wide receiver? He might be 3 or 4 on their depth chart, and will winning solve all the woes? We'll see, but I'm kind of looking at that situation and going, sometimes there's a reason why the cost was what it was.
That's, it's one of the thoughts that I've had, and it's sort of a twofold, because I do think, as you allude to, that, a winning can be helpful. This is the first, really high-level quarterback that he's had the opportunity to play with. Those could all be helpful. I guess the other thing I keep trying to say here is, and if he really is a problem, if that's the case, then the cost was so low that in 4 weeks the Ravens could say, hey, we tried, but this dude is it just ain't worth it. Like, they could just move on and that be that. Sure. I think that's the reason why I can't be – I think all that stuff is real, but it's hard for me to be too worked up about it, Anish.
Yeah, I think if you're the Ravens, you look at this as a low risk, high reward. He's a rental in the purest form. And again, if there's an injury to Zay Flowers or there's a need at wide receiver because of injuries or something else,
right?
You can slide Diontae Johnson in there, feel pretty good. If not, and he becomes temperamental and he becomes, a guy who is making a championship team, a potential championship team, a little uneasy in that locker room, the cost isn't prohibitive to move off of him. So I think there's a lot of that. I think in Diontae Johnson's case, if I'm him, you're going into a walk year, I would be on my best behavior, especially because if you want to play for a winner and you want to get paid by a winner in the offseason, I think you kind of got to show that, hey, you can be a team guy. And I'm not saying everything around him is true, right? It's a lot of noise, but that followed him, as you guys know, from being in the same division. That followed him at Pittsburgh as well.
So if he's happy here and if things go well, what could Diontae Johnson add to the Baltimore Ravens offense if the other stuff doesn't get in the way?
Well, I think you start with his ability to run every route on the tree. He is an exceptional route runner. Now, where he can be inconsistent at times, effort, and he has some issues with drops. We've seen that with the Panthers. We saw that with Pittsburgh. but he can get open and he can get separation. And you've got an MVP caliber quarterback who is far and away the best quarterback that he's played with in his NFL career. You're getting apex Lamar Jackson. I think he should be in a pretty good spot in terms of, getting enough looks, but he's also a volume guy. He's also a guy that needs a lot of targets. When he was healthy, his first couple of games when Andy Dalton took over as the starter, he was getting targeted double-digit times per game. And that kept him happy, and he made some plays, and he caught some touchdowns, but his catch rate was, right around 50%, a little more than 50%. It wasn't as high as you would expect. So he's a guy that needs the ball a lot to be happy. But again, sometimes you put him in a locker room with some more established veterans where there is a winning culture and a track record of getting to the postseason in place. Sometimes the other 52 guys can make that transition a little easier.
In Pittsburgh, he had a reputation. We're chatting with Anish Shroff, by the way, Panthers play-by-play voice. In Pittsburgh, he had a reputation of not catching the football, and the numbers say in 2022, he had one of the worst drop rates in all of football. But looking at the numbers, it doesn't seem like that has followed him significantly to start. I think everybody's got drops, but it seems like even his last year in Pittsburgh and this year so far, was that really an issue for him, and did it seem like that had kind of gotten fixed?
Yeah, I think it's more where there have been plays this season, contested catches, if you will, where we've kind of watched and said, did he really go after that with all that he could? Plays like that, again, breaking off a route early, stopping on a route that led to an interception. Every now and then he'll throw up a gesture, body language that will, betray an emotion of being unhappy with either not getting the ball or a ball that may not have been placed where he wanted it. So, again, those things have always popped up in his career. He has never been looked at as the most quarterback-friendly wide receiver. But, again, the talent is there. That's never been a question. And the first couple of games after the switch was made at quarterback, week 3 and week 4, when Andy Dalton took over for Bryce Young, he seemed pretty happy. He was being productive. He was on pace at one point just a few weeks ago for 100-catch, 1,300-yard season. So the guy can play. There's no doubt. And, again, if you're the Ravens, you probably realize the Panthers didn't have a whole lot of leverage in terms of where to ship this guy and what they can get for him. So you're able to bring somebody in who, again, I think is a low-risk, high-reward type of player.
Anish, the Ravens also seem like they're likely to be in the market for edge rush help, or at least something to help the defense between now and Tuesday. And Jadeveon Clowney was a great fit in Baltimore last season, was kind of a miracle, kind of picked up off the scrap heap and had this incredible season. I know the production hasn't been there this season in Carolina, but is there something we don't know that would maybe explain that? Is it just there's all the attention is being paid to him? Is it still worth maybe the Ravens exploring what it would cost to have a reunion with Jadeveon Clowney?
It's been a combination of things. He's had a shoulder injury that kept him out for a couple of weeks. He finally returned last week, so there was that. He looked great in the preseason. But the reality is the Panthers have been so beat up on defense. A few weeks ago, they were playing a game. 6 of their projected front 7 to go into the season were out, including Clowney. And so Derek Brown is the best player on the team, their interior D tackle. He's now a rush end in a 3-4. He tore up his knee week 1. He's out for the season. So that was a big loss. So, yeah, there's more attention on Clowney. I think that's part of it. And then, the other part of it is if you think of when does a pass rusher normally eat, pass rusher normally eats when they can pin their ears back. That's in the fourth quarter when the team has the lead. And the Panthers, they're 1-7. There haven't really been a lot of those instances.
Yeah, I get that. I'd still be interested. There's other guys that I might be more interested in, but boy, he was such a good fit here last year that I would still be interested in that. And then what do you make, just, Anish, obviously it doesn't affect us in any way, but what do you make of the decision to stick with Bryce Young And it feels like sort of a tacit acknowledgement of, look, we can't make our decisions right now about what gives us the best chance to win on Sunday. We've got to make decisions based on what's best for the long-term future of this organization.
Well, no, really the decision to start Bryce Young once again this Sunday had everything to do with Andy Dalton injuring his thumb in a car accident last week.
Okay, it's just that.
So
Got
if
it.
Dalton was healthy, right, if Dalton was healthy, I think he'd be starting.
Okay.
I do look at this, though, from Bryce's perspective as an opportunity. Last week he faced the top 5 Denver defense, had one really good drive to start the game, then didn't do a whole lot until the final drive of the game when the outcome was in hand. This weekend at home, facing a Saints team that has lost 6 in a row, a defense that's a little bit beat up and banged up and not playing well. This is his 20th career start. I look at it as an opportunity for Bryce Young. And, you know, in the NFL, if you're a first-round pick and certainly a number 1 overall pick, you're going to have multiple opportunities. Nobody's going to give up on you that easily, whether it's in Carolina or somewhere else. But it is a real opportunity for Bryce on Sunday to show the fan base, show the organization, hey, I can still be the guy. I can still be a quarterback that you can put faith in, you can build a team around, and maybe even a franchise guy. But at some point, you have to start stacking evidence and putting that on the table. There's a real opportunity for him to do that Sunday. But until he does, again, I'm not going out on a limb here saying that Andy Dalton gives this team the best chance to win.
I get that. Anish, did I see that you launched a podcast?
We did, yeah. So Tom Luganbill and I from ESPN, Tom Luganbill does a lot of the ACC Network games, the primetime game. We do a Weekend Warriors podcast, which is a little bit of everything, college football, NFL, pop culture. We sort of recap, where we've been in the college world. We talk some NFL, and, Lugs is a big movie, TV guy. We kind of get into a little bit of everything, so it's been a lot of fun.
You're not going to have him, talking lacrosse in the spring, are you?
No, I think we're only in season.
Right,
so we're, I think, 10 episodes in.
Got it.
So there hasn't even been any conversation about renewal or season 2. I think we're fortunate we've made it to 10 episodes.
Fair enough. I understand that. That's the Weekend Warriors podcast. And, of course, you can also follow Anish on Twitter at Shroff PxP is the way to do it. Anish, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us for a couple of minutes this morning. Look forward to doing this again real soon, dude.
All right, buddy. You got it. See you, Glenn.
Anish Shroff with us here on GCR. And I think everything that he says is fair, right? There is certainly a reputation with Diontae Johnson. There is certainly something to be read into about how little it cost to get Diontae Johnson. But again, the risk is so low that I can't get worked up about it. If you're convincing yourself that Diontae Johnson is Steve Smith, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment. But if you're saying, hey, there might be something there, he could be helpful, and if he's not, so what? Then I think you have the right attitude going into this. And it's going to be really hard to be disappointed by it. And it might be that he offers something more than that. He might end up being a significant contributor who's very happy in this situation. If he's not, all good, man. Again, truly, so what? They paid nothing. And there's every reason. I do think it's a statement. If he is willing to, on day one, be the punt returner, that might say something about just how happy he is to be in a different situation that, he says, hey, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I think that, and it doesn't guarantee that everything works beyond that, but I think it matters. I think it's helpful. I think it says something if he's willing to step up and do that. All right, we continue along here on a Thursday edition of the program. Every Thursday, we like to make picks. Picks are brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, Griffin.
Every time, you know what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel. You get $7 in free slot play every time that touchdowns are scored during home games during Baltimore or Washington football team home games this season. $7 in free slot play. You have to have your live rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor. You have to be actively playing as well in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, and Baltimore and Washington, man, they've been scoring lots of touchdowns this year. So you got to get out to Live Casino, get your $7 in free slot play, valid for slot play only at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, here's our buddy Ken Zalis, and he's back with us this morning here on GCR. What's going on, KZ? How are you?
I'm lovely. How are you today?
I'm all right. The Yankees lost, right? Like, I guess I'm in a good mood. I'm not feeling. Yeah.
And they lost in historic fashion. It's
That's
even
true.
better.
That is true. They did lose in historic fashion. Not that I'm a Dodgers fan. Like, there's nothing to feel good about from that, but it wasn't the Yankees, so we got that going for us, and that's nice. I don't feel great about my picks because I went right back in the toilet last week, which was fun, but the good news is there's not a Maryland game to pick this week, so I can't get caught up in that. Here's the deal. Oh, before we do any of that, hang on. I'm trying to see if there's anything I needed to ask you about. I'm not playing Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb over – well, I don't know what's going on with Tony Pollard. I guess if he doesn't play, I know I'm playing one of them over him. But if he plays, rank those three for me.
Pollard's a tricky one. Because of the volume that he's getting,
yeah.
I'm going Hunt. I'm going Hunt over Pollard. Chubb right now is third for me. Chubb's one of those guys that everybody roots for. I don't care that we're not Browns fans. Like, you root for him, but he's not the Nick Chubb yet, the explosive guy that we're used to. So he's a touchdown dependent guy. I'm riding the guy that's getting all the touches in the KC backfield, and that's Hunt right now.
Okay, what about – I'm not playing Khalil Shakir over Chubb, though, am I?
Oof.
Yeah.
Full PPR?
PPR? Yeah, no, this is your cockamamie league, jerk.
You think I know the rules?
Yeah, clearly you don't. Clearly you don't know the rules.
I'm in 25 leagues. You think I know what's a PPR and what's not? Shakir had a huge share last week. Like, he had like 12 targets. I'm probably playing Shakir over Chubb.
Really? Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. Oh, there's too many mouths to feed there. All right, I'll think about that.
Do I play Tank Dell tonight? I have to play Tank Dell tonight, right?
What are your options?
Ridley.
Yeah. The thing that he probably sees a lot of Sauce Gardner. Gardner hasn't been great this year, and he's giving up like 43% of his targets are completions, which some people would say, well, that means 56% aren't, and that's true. But every time there is a completion, it goes for like 16-plus yards. So there's a big play possibility tonight for Dell. So I actually like Dell.
Got it. Because Tyrone Tracy is banged up, and it looks like they're not confident he's going to play this week. So that's what makes it. Oh, he's got a concussion. I guess he probably won't go.
Yeah, he's got a kick. He's in the protocol. He hasn't practiced yet. So.
All right. Tank Dell gets the nod tonight.
All right, we good? Let's make some picks.
Congratulations, KZ. You are bottom two now. You still one of two people who hasn't paid yet. So.
I thought. I told.
Who's the other?
My goal.
Ryan Shell.
My goal this year is to be last because I'm always first.
Okay, here's the problem.
And Glenn,
yeah.
Glenn, you know I'm always
No, that's
first.
true. Ken is typically always first. Here's the issue. We're going to have, with Ryan being in first place, we're going to have to put a timer on it and tell him that if he doesn't pay by a certain week, he can't win.
I mean, it's week 9. Like,
that's fine. That's fine.
And since you're in second place, you probably have to deal with the same thing. You guys are at the top of the table right now.
Well, but I'm like 4 games back.
Yeah, it's true. Ryan is running away with the lead. I don't know what the hell has happened. Ryan is running away with the lead.
Cheating? I mean,
maybe. He's getting the script.
We know a couple of things. Glenn, you'll vouch for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right? I know you will. You're good for it. I agree. I agree.
I'm good for it.
I agree.
Okay, so let's not worry about it. And Griff said today in his email, let him know how it's being paid, and I did let him know.
What did you say? What did he say?
What did he say? He said something stupid.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was looking for what the stupid thing was. That
Oh yeah, there it is.
pigeon.
Yeah, carrier
There
pigeon.
you
And
go.
you spelled
It's
pigeon wrong, by the way.
Well,
That's how he spelled pigeon.
I don't think we're gonna start worrying.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning, so you know.
There you go.
No, okay. It was 11 o'clock.
All right. Let's get into it. Let's make picks for the week.
We're
Three. I am back at the bottom of the table. Life is hell again for me after a 1-8 week last week, but I'm only one game behind Proctor, Paul Valley, and Jeremy Kahn. So if I could just not go 1-8 this week, it'll probably go a long way towards me getting back into position. What do we got? Where are we starting?
We're heading down to Houston, Texas, which is where the midshipmen, the Navy, and the mids will be heading down to Rice to take on the Rice Owls, who just fired their coach this week.
That's correct.
They are still double-digit favorites. They're laying 11 points.
I can't pretend to know anything about Rice. Here's what I know. Everything that could possibly go wrong for Navy against Notre Dame went wrong. And I'm not trying to suggest they would have won the game if they hadn't turned the ball over 4 times, but they just gave the ball away. And it's so not indicative of what they've been that it's easy to fall into the idea that perhaps it was the nerves of the moment and a game unlike any game that they have played given the stakes. So I am willing to be more dismissive of that. Rice, it's not like they've been getting throttled, or they did get throttled by Army, which might perhaps we could read into that a little bit. But yeah, I think this is a big bounce back spot for Navy. I'm going with Navy.
Who were they playing?
Rice. Jerry's eating rice.
See, Griff got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree with all that. I did not expect them to hang with Notre Dame, but I also didn't expect them to give them the ball 4 times.
Right.
So, look, Rice. We don't pretend to know anything about them, but they fired their coach, which means they're probably in a little bit disarray. So I'm going to take Navy. I agree with you. Bounce back, go to a good bowl, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's like this like on paper this should play out similar to really the Air Force and the UAB games. Like Rice has nothing. They really have nothing that they can really compete with Navy with. Obviously, they fired the coach. There's apparently some weather this weekend in Houston, like it's going to be raining and windy, so that could play, in the favor of keeping the game close. But I think, Navy will likely, they know they just need to win this game, and just keep.
Well, just winning doesn't help us.
I understand. Look at it from Navy's perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't go. I'm not picking Rice. I'm taking Navy as well to cover the 11. And once again, Jeremy Kahn is going to go against the Naval Academy all by himself.
Hates America, that guy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that about him. Noted hater of America. All right.
Oh,
there we go.
woof.
Thank you.
Kahn.
We already got to pick up the pace.
Yeah, you're right. Number 1, Oregon. They are traveling to the Eastern Time Zone. They will be taking on the Michigan Wolverines at 3:30 on CBS.
What's the line?
Oregon laying 14.5.
Oregon deserves to be number 1, but the 2 things where these West Coast teams have not done well traveling across the country, and Michigan having a weird, at least we can play defense moment every now and then, I'm going to bite. Give me Michigan to cover 2 touchdowns.
So I've done really well this year just doing a couple of things. One is picking against Maryland, and I'm kind of upset I can't this year.
Yeah, I get it.
Two, I've picked against Michigan a whole lot as well because they don't have film on every team. So I like Oregon. I don't think Michigan can hang with them offensively. I'm going to take the Ducks.
The only team to beat them by 2 touchdowns this year is Texas, by the way.
And what
in
were
fairness,
they ranked?
yeah, they were ranked number 3. I get it. Oregon might just be that good.
Oregon's already done the East Coast. Like, they came to Purdue. That was on a short week. It was on a Friday night, so they're playing later. But this is a 3:30 kick. Like, Oregon's legit. I don't see this, playing. I don't trust anything about Michigan either. So I'm not picking Michigan. I'm taking Oregon. You are not alone on Michigan, though, Glenn. We of course have Kyle Ottenheimer on your side.
Come on.
Yeah. And then Jeremy Kahn will be on the Michigan Wolverines.
Uh-oh. He's not good at this.
Then to Happy Valley for the slate of College game day. Big noon kickoff as well. Fox has this one at noon. Penn State, number 3. Penn State is hosting the number 4 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are laying 3.
I mean, Ohio State tried to lose to Nebraska last week. I don't know that Penn State's the team that you trust. If this was a primetime game and you get that atmosphere at Penn State, like that would actually scare me, but I do think that ultimately Ohio State is better than Penn State. I don't know how to explain what – like I can explain Ohio State losing to Oregon, right? Like they shouldn't have lost to Oregon if they remembered how to football, or if the NCAA had fixed the rules ahead of time. They don't lose to Oregon. But the Nebraska thing is bizarre, man. Like what – they weren't even trying, it seemed like, last week against Nebraska. I'm still not going to do it. Ohio State, that's the pick, and the number I think coming down is helpful here because I don't think they blow out Penn State. I do think it's a close game, but two coaches you don't really trust to win big games. The number needs to be small. Ohio State's the pick.
Yeah, again, anytime there's a straight line of 3 with no hook, it always feels like we're getting a push out of this, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going to take Ohio State. I kind of agree with the look ahead. We'll just throw our helmets out on the field. We'll get away with a win. Nobody get hurt. We'll take care of Nebraska, and then we have a really big game next week. I'll take Ohio State.
To Glenn's point about the big game, so Ryan Day, they haven't beaten in Ohio State. They haven't beaten a top 5 opponent since September of 2022, so it's been 2 years. He's 2-6 against top 5 teams. He's lost 4 straight against top 5.
Yes,
James
tell me about how James Franklin has done in these situations.
He hasn't beaten a top 5 opponent since 2016 against Ohio State at Penn State. He's lost 10 straight to top 5 teams. He's 3-17 versus top 10 all time. And 1-9 versus Ohio State. Ohio State's 11-1 against Penn State the last 12 years.
I mean, the one was good.
Yeah, it was. And I don't think they can do it again. So as Kurt Signetti says, give me Ohio State.
There you go. You're doing a Signetti bit now. That's
why would I not?
Okay, come on.
To the NFL tonight.
No, who else? Do you remember how we do picks?
Who cares?
Do you remember how this works?
Well, every time you tell me to pick it up.
You got to say who everybody picked.
Penn State, James will be on Penn State, as will John Proctor, Kyle Ottenheimer, and Paul Valley on Penn State.
Pretty split.
Lines.
Well, that's because Kyle can't take Ohio State. That's the other flip side of that. Like, he's a Michigan man. He can't pick Ohio State.
Thursday Night Football tonight, Halloween night. The Jets will be hosting the Texans, and the Jets are 2-point favorites. New York Jets. Laying 2.
I mean, the Texans have not looked like world beaters, and then they lose Stephon Diggs after having already lost. Like, I do kind of understand, but this made more sense as a pick 'em, not as a like. With the Jets being favored by like law, you kind of have to take the Texans because you can't. How do you take the Jets as favorites? Now, I won't be stunned if they figure out a way to win this game, simply because as a country we deserve the opportunity to move on from the Jets. But yet we don't get what we deserve. We don't, this is on us. We're going to end up having to deal with them. They figure out some goofy-ass way to win this game, and then they get shoved down our throats continuing. Oh, the Jets are interesting again. No, they're not. They're bad. But for betting purposes, the Texans.
This line stinks. There's no reason the Jets are favored, except that they're overcompensating that there's no wide receiver crew for the Texans. I'll take Houston. I don't feel great about it, but the Jets have not stopped the run real well, and Mixon's really done well this year, so I'll take Houston.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans opened to like -1, and then I guess after the Diggs stuff became like became official, then it swung to -2 for the Jets. So that definitely gives you pause, but I don't think we can't overthink it. It's a 6-2 team getting points against a 2-6 team. So yeah, I'm taking the Houston Texans. There are some Jets backers though. Jeremy Kahn yelling Jets Jets, as is John in Little Rock, Paul Valley, and Ryan Shell.
Ryan Shell's pretty good at this, so I don't know. I don't know, man.
Then to Sunday, into the 4 p.m. window, we'll jump to there on CBS.
The Ravens game is really the only 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, that's like kind of worth.
Yeah, right.
So what? Who are the
it's
Falcons?
Cowboys Falcons.
That one's okay.
It's the Cowboys stink.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's okay because it should be 30-30. 30.
All right, fair. That's fair.
Cardinals are laying 1.5 against the Chicago Bears. And they're hosting.
I have a rule that you never believe in the Arizona Cardinals, but it bit me last week because I put American dollars. Like, I don't bet much, but I put American dollars on the Miami Dolphins because of my rule that you never, ever, ever believe in the Arizona Cardinals coming off a big win.
You forgot about Chad Ryland.
It's true. Maryland legend. Now they've coming off back-to-back big wins. This feels like the ultimate spot. Like, this feels like make or break for my theory. Like, everything comes down to this. So I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears, but if they let me down here, I might have to throw away my theory forever about the Arizona Cardinals.
Buy into the Cardinals.
Yeah, correct.
I think I'm going to do the same thing and go with Arizona.
Wait, I just said the Bears.
I was really disappointed in the offensive production from the Bears last week against
I don't blame you.
team.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm going to take Arizona. That really bothered me last week. I thought that would be, a much higher scoring game, and the Bears showed me very little offensively.
I don't have the the personal vendetta against the.
It's not a vendetta. It's just that I've done a lot of this over the years. You never believe in the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, these are two teams. When you get two teams that you shouldn't believe in.
Now that's a stronger argument.
Yeah. Saw from Bill Barnwell is the Bears have played according to the ESPN's FPI, the Football Power Index. They have played the easiest schedule the Bears have to date. They have the hardest schedule remaining from here on. The Cardinals have played the toughest schedule to date, and they actually have one of the easier ones now moving forward.
How about that?
And they're at home, so I will take the Arizona Cardinals. I'm gonna.
And the home part, I got to tell you, if there's anything I do know specifically, there are more Chicago fans that live in Phoenix than there.
Invasion?
It's not an invasion. They all live there. It is. I don't know how to explain it. Part of it, the Cubs, they have spring training there. That's where people go to retire. There was such a demand that, like, at one point we had to run Bears games on our radio station in Arizona. Like, there's a Chicago thing that exists in Phoenix. Yeah, you could just be part of the radio network. It's a whole thing. But yeah,
Ken and I should say, are I think it's 7-5 in favor of the Bears. So on the Cardinals, joining Ken and I is Andrew Stetka, as is Joe Serpico and John in Little Rock.
Andrew Stetka on the Cardinals is not something we see very often either.
I think he was once earlier this year, too. I can't remember how he did, but I think he was once earlier. Then to 425 on Fox, the L.A. Rams are heading up to the Pacific Northwest, Seattle. And the Rams are 1.5-point favorites going into Lumen Field.
Boy, what do you make of these teams, right? Like, what? You feel like the Rams are moving in the right direction. They got their guys back. And with those two dudes on the field, the Rams feel like a threat to beat anybody. The Seahawks are so Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what you're getting from week to week at this point with the Seahawks. I guess I'm going to default to the Rams, but I don't know. I don't know how to have a strong feeling about either one of these teams. I'll pick the Rams.
Yeah, I agree with that. We don't know for sure, picking on a Thursday whether DK's in or out or how healthy he is. That makes a big difference in that team. But what I do know is the band's back together, and offensively, the Rams are good again and fun for fantasy and fun for putting points on the board.
That part, very true.
I'll take them as long as they're healthy with Kupp and Puka.
Yeah, I mean, same exact reasoning. I mean, they looked great with Cooper Kupp back and Puka Nacua both back on the field Thursday night. So. And the Seahawks are going in the complete opposite direction. 3-0 start. They're 1-4 since then. And they just got embarrassed at home by the Bills, so that makes you think they have to bounce back here. But the Rams have had extra rest, and the Rams dropped 30 points on Mike McDonald's defense last year in Baltimore. Like I think the Rams almost feels. The spread's very close, but I feel like the Rams is definitely the pick here. Not for everyone, though. 5 backers of the Seattle Seahawks. Andrew Stetka on Seattle, as is James, Jeremy, Joe, and John in Little Rock. All the J's. Actually, not John Proctor. but all the other GAs on the Seahawks. Staying in that 425 window, Detroit Lions are heading to Green Bay. Packers are getting 3.5 at home.
What's the latest on Jordan Love?
I don't know. I think it's trending. I don't know.
John in Little Rock always gets angry when we include a game like this. He gets very pissed off. Like it's for entertainment. The bit is that like what happened last week where we all bid on Chicago and then Jaden Daniels play. That can happen. People are betting this game right now.
Love did not practice yesterday. Love, who didn't practice Wednesday, believes it's realistic for him to play Sunday.
Like, there's a part of me that says the Lions are good enough that, like, even if Jordan Love plays, I'd like them to win. But I think I've seen that the numbers for Jared Goff are very different indoors and outdoors. And with the 3.5 points and the chance that Jordan Love plays, I'm going to roll the dice here and go with the Packers.
Yeah, not going to do it. The Lions have proven that they can beat you through the air. They've proven they can beat you on the ground, that they can beat you defensively. And whether Love plays or not, he's not going to be 100%. I'm going to take the Lions. I mean, your point about indoor-outdoor with golf is great, but if he's only going to throw the ball 15 times, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
80% chance of rain in Green Bay on Sunday right now. Yeah. I know. I would struggle with the Love thing as well, but the Lions aren't going to score 50 points again. I don't know. Maybe they will. But the Lions aren't scoring 50 again, and I'm going to default to Matt LaFleur as a dog, and he's at home as well. 24-11 ATS as an underdog. Matt LaFleur is. So I will take the Green Bay Packers alongside Glenn. We are pretty split. Andrew Steck is on Green Bay, Jeremy Connell on Green Bay, Joe Serpico, and John in Little Rock, as well as Paul Valley on the Green Bay Packers. And then finally, second to last here, Sunday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings. This was flexed to Sunday night. Minnesota Vikings are hosting the Indianapolis Colts, and the Vikings are laying 5.
I'm not surprised the Vikings have come back to earth. Their defense and their offensive line are exceptional, but that's where that ends. And they have Justin Jefferson. I guess I shouldn't say that's where that ends. I know that, the Joe Flacco story is kind of cute, but I don't think the Colts are a very good team. I don't think they have much. 5 points still. God, man. 5 points. I think it's a bounce-back spot for the Vikings. I'll go with the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't particularly love the line because the reality is that Joe Flacco makes them a better offensive football team.
They do.
You look at the splits. Pittman becomes a reality. Downs becomes a reality. You just got Taylor back, which makes them more dangerous altogether. But Joe Flacco doesn't play defense, and their defense stinks. And Justin Jefferson's playing good football. They get Hawkinson back this week. Aaron Jones has been really good. I'm still going to stick with the Vikings.
Oh, what is you've got a Joe Flacco. That's the brown shirt. Yeah. That's the Joe Flacco brown shirt that he's showing over there. Yes, that's your guy. You're riding with him.
Yeah. He's getting 5 points on prime time.
Okay.
Vikings defense has been shaky of recent. I mean, come on. Joe's gonna sling it. You know that. Getting 5 points. Come on. I mean, it doesn't seem like the Vikings can keep losing, but they
get you a man who loves you the way that Griffin Bass loves Joe Flacco.
So I'm taking the Colts, obviously, and as the other everyone else making smart decisions.
The funny part about that is I think Griffin was 9 when the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
The other smart decision makers: Jeremy Kahn, Joe Serpico, Paul Valley, and Ryan Shell on the Indianapolis Colts. Sorry guys. I mean, you're gonna get that one wrong. I don't know what to tell you. And then finally, 1 o'clock on Sunday in Balmer, Denver, coming over to take on the Ravens, and the Ravens are laying 9.5.
I have not picked against the Ravens once this season, which again has been mostly good, right? Like mostly, like the games that they've won, I'm pretty sure they've covered in all of them because they were not big favorites against the Cowboys, and they won the other games. Like, and they weren't big favorites against the Bengals. Yeah, so it's mostly been that. This will be the first time I pick against the Ravens this season. Yeah. It's just too big of a number for me. And I get it. I do understand. There is not that much to like about the Broncos, and the Broncos' success has come against a really low-level schedule. Like, there's the Buccaneers game and not much else that you have of the Broncos showing you something against a good football team. But the Ravens' defense is just way too much of a question mark. I get that if they have Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins back this week, that goes a long way. But it's way too much of a question mark for me and they're not, and it's not against, if it was an NFC team, yeah, you know it. But it's an AFC team. So I'm going to take the Broncos here.
Okay, so I need some help from you two.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not in Baltimore. So where are we with their secondary? Who's playing?
I mean, we don't.
They were limited. Wiggins and Marlon were both limited yesterday.
Okay, so the limited in the first practice.
But Lamar didn't practice.
Usually, huh?
Lamar didn't practice though, so.
Oh, but
it's a rest day. Yes, that's all it is.
All right. Let's not worry about that. I'm more worried about the defense.
Yes.
So limited on a Wednesday
normally means yes. Correct.
We're trending in the right direction. Okay. Number two, are the Denver Broncos considered a good team this year?
I don't know.
No, not your.
No, they're okay. Yes, their record. Their record
they,
suggests.
If the
yes.
playoffs started today,
yes,
are
correct.
they in them?
Yes.
Okay, Ravens by 24.
There you go. There you go. I get it.
I mean, yeah, 10 points. It feels like so much, especially after what the way that the way last week went. I think the Ravens are going to win. Maybe this ends up being, kind of like the Commanders game where they win it. It feels comfortable, but, maybe the Commanders score late and it's something like 30-23, 34-27, something like that. So the Broncos cover. But, I'm going to keep riding with the Ravens. I can't I'm not going to go against them now. So I'm going to lay the 9.5 and hope that the Raiders and the Browns thing doesn't happen again. So I will take the Ravens. Glenn is not alone on the Denver Broncos. Andrew Stecca, John, and Little Rock, and Kyle Ottenheimer are on the Denver Broncos.
How about that? All right, buddy. Appreciate you. I
have real quick. Have we discussed the tidbit that we were on?
Oh, that you were texting me about? Yeah, we'll have time for that. If that becomes relevant on Sunday, we can discuss it. Are you hopping on with us?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm good the rest of the way.
All right, very good. Project Game Day returns this Sunday immediately following Ravens-Broncos, PressBoxOnline.com/gameday. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ. I think Stecca's back this week as well. So should be the whole crew for Project Game Day this Sunday. Come hang out with us immediately following the game. Brought to you by BetYard AI, as well as Easy Pass, the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you then.
Hey, thanks, guys.
That's KZ with us for picks, as he is every Thursday here on GCR. Yeah, Project Game Day back this Sunday. Every game day, PressBoxOnline.com/gameday. And if you missed it yesterday, we've announced the date for the next Arthur Millette show. Not going to do a show next week. The Thursday night game just kind of screws with everything. We don't want any risks. Like, we just want to get into a comfortable rhythm, so we're going to push it back 1 week, and we will get together with you November 12th. Tuesday night, we will be at Mother's North Grill in Timonium, one of our favorite spots for doing shows. Come out and join us there. PressBoxOnline.com/Millette to find out more. We have been getting around town all season long. Great to have Arthur back out on the field, and we will be with you Tuesday, November 12th. So we'll be doing back-to-back shows because we're also doing a show on the 19th. So back-to-back weeks with shows on the 12th and the 19th. Next Arthur Millette show, Tuesday, November 12th, Mother's North Grill in Timonium. Brought to you by Easy Pass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. We will see you for the Arthur Millette show coming up Tuesday, November 12th. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. Yes, as Griffin pointed out, Lamar Jackson did not practice yesterday, but a lot of people talking about the fact that because the Ravens play on Thursday night next week, just a lot of football, a lot of packed in there, and so makes sense that you want to get Lamar Jackson a day off, maybe even more than a day off, to try to keep him fresh with the Ravens not having a bye until December and playing on Thursday night next week makes all the sense in the world. We mentioned it. Navy trying to bounce back from obviously what was a tough loss against Notre Dame on Saturday. They are on the road at Rice this coming Saturday. Joining us now here on GCR, this man will be on the cover. He is the former outstanding linebacker and really, really good at everything that he does in his broadcast career. He'll be on the call for ESPN2. He's Kirk Morrison, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Kirk, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, man, no doubt. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. How are we doing?
Everything is good, man. Kirk, I wonder just, look, I don't know that Navy beats Notre Dame. I think it's pretty clear that there's some difference between those two teams. But everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Navy in that game. And I don't know if it was nerves about the moment and, hey, you win this game, then maybe you're in the college football playoff. Like, I don't know what happened, but it was so un-Navy-like for them to turn the ball over the way that they did. I feel like to some extent you have to be a little bit dismissive of what happened because we know this is still a lot better of a team than what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, it was one of those things that my high school coach would always say, you guys start smelling yourself a little bit. And that was his way of saying that, you guys are starting to think you guys look good and you smell good and you forget about the grind and the grit that got you there. I always use that analogy because I don't know if it really necessarily was about that one game. I just think that it is the hardest thing in college football when everyone is praising you, patting you on the back, telling you how good you are. And then, guess what? You're going to be on ABC versus Notre Dame. I truly believe it was a position where not necessarily guys got complacent, but the moment just seemed a little bit too big for everyone. It just seemed like that when you're getting Blake Horvath having pregame interviews on the field. You know what I mean? Like, it's just things that were not normal to Navy they were having to do, and it seemed that it spilled over until the game. Even playing, obviously we know Army-Navy has always been a big game, and it's played in the NFL stadium, but a week 9 matchup, you're playing against Notre Dame at MetLife, like that's a big game. And I just thought the lights may have been a little bit too big, even though the game was at noon.
But that said, Kirk, most everything is still in front of them, right? Like even the playoff is not dead. I get that Boise State looks like the team, especially after their win over UNLV, but all it takes is for them to lose one more game. And if Navy could figure out a way to run the table and win the AAC, even that's still on the table. It's not shot, that outside shot at the college football playoff. How important is it for them to be able to shake this off and have those conversations like, hey, yeah, this was bad, but we can still do all of the things that we wanted to do coming into the season?
That's what makes the 2024 college football season so beautiful, fellas. I love it. Love everything about it because you mentioned it. Before, when you made a mistake, your season was over.
Right.
You had one loss, one blemish, and it was like, oh, man, what could have been? And yet, like you mentioned, everything is still right there in front of Navy. They can go out and win the rest of their games, run the table, and then obviously they have a game against, Army. We don't know what that game will entail, but that could be another one of those building wins that helps them put themselves in a college football playoff scenario with this 12-team playoff. I know Boise plays my alma mater tomorrow in San Diego State, which is always a tough one on Friday nights. So there's a lot still in front of them, and I know Coach Newberry's preaching that to his guys. Like, look, we lost a football game. Now, maybe on the outside, everyone thinks the season may be over, but we know that all of our goals are still in front of us, winning a conference championship, putting ourselves in position to possibly get to the college football playoff. That's all you should be talking. That's all you should be preaching. And I tell you this, after you get embarrassed like they did last week, I know they're chomping at the bit to get back out there and have a better performance.
Hey, we're chatting with Kirk Morrison. He'll be on the call for ESPN2 for Navy Rice Saturday at 4 o'clock. Kirk, separated from the Notre Dame game, what has impressed you most about this Navy team? And this is still a team that beat Memphis. This is still a team that had, got off to that 6-0 start and really on both sides of the ball, to me, had gotten things done at a level that I don't know that we'd ever seen Navy play this well on both sides of the ball, even with all of the success of the Paul Johnson and Kenny Amadololo era.
Right. I think obviously Blake has had a lot to do with that at quarterback, but I think also too when you look at the depth that this team has.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing with a lot of players. I mean, I was going through the roster early this week, and I'm looking at how many plays guys are playing, and you're seeing like the reps are equally distributed in some areas, and then you've got some guys who are primetime players playing a lot of plays. And I'm saying I never knew Navy to have this type of depth to play until their second and third groups and still get production. I love that about them. I think that's what's been the big difference, seeing them. And then look, on top of that, in incorporating more of a vertical passing game that we've seen, not seen much of, but yet it's been effective. So I think that's what's been different just about where they are right now. There's a confidence in that they can throw the football. They don't have to throw it 40 times, but they're an efficient team that can throw it 10 to 15 times, and they get production out of that.
And it's not like I'm not trying to be disparaging towards Tim Tebow. It's not even like Blake Horvath is a limited. Like, he can throw the ball. Like, he can.
Yes.
Like, this is not someone that, like, yeah, you can throw it if you're throwing underneath. Like, he can make all of the throws.
Yeah, no, he can make all the throws, and it's crazy because I'm going through some things on tape, and when you play against a service academy, it's always about dive, quarterback, pitch, right? That's what you worry about in the game. But now with this vertical passing game and the ability to get out of it, I mean, they're running RPOs out of triple option. I've never seen that before. Like, he's running a triple option RPO, and it's beautiful to see him read defensive ends. If it's not there, he can pull it. He can throw the screen, the bubble. There's a lot of different plays off of it. It looks like triple option, but yet it's actually a normal, read option type of offense that's incorporated as well. So I love the multiplicity of the offense.
Kirk, obviously, you're not. It's not just college football that you do. You do so much NFL stuff. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the Ravens defense, man, because we're not used to this, as you know, in Baltimore.
Yeah,
this is not like it. Now, again, the offense, we're not used to that either, and it's been otherworldly. But how do you solve it? Is it a you got to add somebody by Tuesday? Is it a hey, you have the pieces? This was just always going to happen when you change coordinators. It was going to take a little while. Like, how do you fix a defense that has just been, particularly the pass defense, that has just been at best pedestrian, but if we're being more honest, it ain't even been pedestrian to this point.
Yeah, I think we can say that, guys. But man, if Kyle Hamilton, catches that
That's
pass,
true.
we may be having maybe having a different conversation. The Ravens will be sitting at 6-2, and we're saying they're right where they want to be, and they haven't played their best football yet. That being said, you do start to look at guys like Geno Stone, who's not there anymore, right? You start to look at Patrick Queen, who's not there anymore. Guys who were part of this defense last year that were, could we call them, I won't call Patrick Queen a complimentary piece, but there were guys who played roles, and you would see, similar to what I talked about with Navy, there was an added depth that there was no drop-off. You could lose, Humphrey for, a 2 or 3 games, but still have someone to come back and play, to a high level. What I'm seeing right now is that teams are going to try to find ways to get those chunk plays and chunk throws and big scores, because you know what? They're probably not going to drive down on this defense. Because of the way that they're playing offensively, teams realize we got to take more chances because this could be a keep away. It's the true yin and yang, right? It's one side, your offense is humming, but yet the opposite side of the defense hasn't been great. but it still doesn't deter me from where I think this Ravens team will be at the end of the season. I don't know if you just grab someone and bring them in at the trade deadline. What I see is just a team that, going through a little bit of growing pains, but we know the NFL season truly starts in November, right? That's where the separation truly starts. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Baltimore Ravens will be right there. They'll get some things fixed defensively.
One name that's been thrown around this week, I know you do stuff with the Rams, has been Tre'Davious White. I don't really know why the Rams continue to be talked about as sellers because, my God, they looked really good the moment they got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back onto the football field. But can Tre'Davious White still be helpful at this point? He hasn't really done much at this point in his career.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, he's, to me, more of a depth piece.
Okay.
He was sidelined. He was pretty much benched. And teams really went after him the early part. I mean, you talk about, I think the early parts of the season, he had Jamison Williams. He had Marvin Harrison Jr., right? I mean, and then I forgot who the third receiver was, but everyone had these huge games, and it was like, okay, what are we doing here? Is he fully healthy? Is he fully confident? Maybe he needs to take more of a reserve role, and the Rams have really went into a youth movement in that secondary. So I think it's one of those situations where Tre'Davious White would come in. I don't know if he would be like an elite starter for you, but definitely can give you some experience and a guy that you can rely on and put in to maybe a rotational piece, right? It's also that time maybe in his career where he starts to play multiple positions in that secondary, kind of like I saw Patrick Peterson do last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing a hybrid corner safety role.
It's an interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I feel like there's still part of me that says if you can do anything, you do something. You try to improve the edge rush. I don't think it's good. Everybody around here is like obsessed with the idea of Max Crosby. I think at this point, I actually have to believe the Raiders now when they say 18 times we're not trading Max Crosby no matter what.
Right.
But like an Azeez Ojulari is something that's interesting to me. Like anything that you can do to try to speed this up because, boy, Jameis Winston looked awfully comfortable back. He was very willing and complicit to throw the ball to the Ravens. Like he wanted to do it. The Ravens had no interest in catching it, but he had lots of time.
Right.
Yeah, he had lots of time all day long to try to sit back and pick apart the Ravens defense. So I'm still in favor of maybe making a move like that to try to shore this up.
It's just, in a week-to-week league, fellas, let's just be honest. I really felt that Jameis Winston gives the Browns a better chance to win football games.
No doubt.
He's a better passer. And to me, I thought the Ravens just were kind of thrown off guard just a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how well Jameis can play until he's on that field. I saw him in Los Angeles come in and throw 5 touchdowns. Now, he also threw 4 interceptions as well, but I know the capabilities of what he's unafraid, and he is going to take those chances. You just got to make sure that you take care of your opportunities when they present themselves. Kyle Hamilton, literally, if he squeezes that football, we're talking about something totally different. But I'm not in a sense of panic when it comes to their defense. I know that they're going through, obviously, new defensive coordinator in Denard. Like you're doing some things right now. Or that you're doing, and you say, okay, what are we doing defensively? I don't think it's on the defensive coordinator. It is just new pieces, and this is now that part in the NFL season where I think the defense will finally start to get caught up. I really do believe that around the National Football League in general, if you're starting to see, look at all these one-score games that we've had. I think it's a record going into week number 9 in terms of one-score games around the league. So I'm kind of excited about that because finally there's enough tape out there to realize what teams are trying to do to you, and the Ravens will be right on par with that.
It's funny you bring up you accidentally said Denard because I think one of the things that we also recognizing is how helpful Denard Wilson was and how significant he was as their secondary coach, and that has continued at his next stop as the Titans have been really good against the pass. All right, Kirk Morrison, obviously Navy Rice, Saturday at 4 o'clock, but you've got like a billion other things going on. What else can we plug for you, dude?
No, that's about it. How did you guys feel about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders? I mean, I know it's not too far away on the Beltway.
I mean,
just the turnaround for the Commanders for you guys. How is that?
It's a really awkward thing, right? Where I actually kind of people up here for a long time. We kind of there's this Baltimore DC thing, the little brother.
Right.
And we've hated DC, but we almost got to a point where we felt terrible for those. Like, it was so dreadful. But then I said on the flip side, it was nice to know there was one less team you had to compete against every year. Like, there was always one team that you could just count on that would find a way to screw everything up, right? Like, and that was what the Commanders were. This dude is legit, man. Like, this dude is. We had him here in Baltimore. He won the Unitas Award last year, and he came on the show. And I ended up just one conversation was like, dude, what is there not to like about this guy? Like, he is so good. He is so likable. We're happy with the guy we have, so we're not really all that jealous.
Yeah.
But like,
Absolutely.
this dude is it checks every box, man. He is generational. He is a special talent, and yeah, what a wild scene that was. Like, it was a wild scene on Sunday, man.
For me, like I said, I've seen him. I did his games when he was at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And if you would have asked me that's the same quarterback that I saw at Arizona State with Herm Edwards as the head coach, I would have laughed at you. I mean, you saw the talent, but he was thin. He just always would take off and run. And now to see him developing the quarterback that he did at LSU and now in the NFL, I'm truly surprised, but I'm actually not surprised because you mentioned it. He's always been a great kid, but to see him develop that way, that's been fun to watch.
He's special.
I meant to ask you guys, Diontae Johnson, that do anything for you guys?
Kirk. Okay, you tell me what you think. Here's where I am.
What I think?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think.
Okay.
I was like, hey, he falls in line with the defensive backs because he drops a lot of passes just like Kyle Hamilton did.
So, you know what's funny? So it's the same thing that I remember of Diontae Johnson in Pittsburgh. I dive into the numbers, and last season, this season, the drops really haven't been an issue for him. Because I remember the same dude you're talking about who constantly dropped the football in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And all of my Steelers fan friends are like, enjoy Diontae Johnson. There's such a low risk to this. Like, they paid nothing for Diontae Johnson. They traded back 20 spots in the late rounds of the draft in order to get Diontae Johnson, and the Panthers are paying the entirety of his salary. Like, it's absolutely worth doing with the acknowledgement of, hey, he's had some issues. He's been mercurial. He's gotten into fights with teammates. There have been some stuff like that. And if that becomes a problem in Baltimore, then so what? You move on from him. You just if he's really that big of a problem after week 14, then you just say, hey, it wasn't worth it, and we're done with this. It was such a small price that it was worth paying. And if you can get the best version of him, then you needed some depth. Like, your third receiver was Nelson Aguilar. Your fourth receiver has never played in the NFL in Tez Walker.
Right.
Like, you needed depth at the position. So it's hard for me to be down on it at all.
Is this because of more inconsistent play from Zay Flowers?
No.
Is this also a check with him, too? Because I'm saying, because Diontae comes in and he goes to, the number 3? He's not your number 1. Or, obviously Mark is always going to be the number 1, even at the tight end spot. But is it Rashad who, dropped the pass in the sun the other day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Diontae comes in, and it's just like, for me, where does he fall in line? And then at the end of the day, how many footballs is going to go his way?
Yep.
Just thinking about what this offense is still going through the quarterback and number 22 in the backfield.
And if that becomes a problem, and if he gets angry about it, then this could be, given his history, this could be an issue, because I don't think he's here. I genuinely believe he's here to be their third receiver, and the way they're talking about him, like, they expect him to be returning punts as well. And if he's willing to do that, if he comes in and says, okay, I'll do that because I want to be on a good team, I do think that says something about where he is at this point in his career, that he recognizes, hey, I got to do that type of stuff. I'm not a number 1 wide receiver. I've got to be willing to do it. But, man, it was such a small price. I keep coming back to that.
Right.
The price was so small that it's almost like there's no risk here. I'm not trying to pretend like it's low risk, high reward, because I think there's a cap to what the reward can be. But I think it's so low risk that whatever reward there is, it was a risk worth taking.
And at the end of the day, it's like when you sit back and analyze it, right? we should know that it would come back to special teams with John Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, that's
if
fair,
you
right?
if you think about what we saw last week, and I'm a guy, I try not to look at trends, but you're starting to notice special teams is really helping some teams out. I saw the Detroit Lions win a football game last week, and their best player was their punt returner, kick returner, who had more yards than
It's
Jared
true.
Goff
It's
and
true.
the running back.
Carved them up,
And
right?
so I look at John Harbaugh, who sees the entire league and starts to realize, okay, this kickoff rule wasn't going to work in September and October, but we know it starts to get cold, and you're not going to be booming them through the back of the end zone anymore. Could this be something? I don't know if Diontae's going to return kickoffs, but punt returns, you're always trying to find an edge. And so I always say, okay, the special teams aspect and John Harbaugh, maybe this is what we're missing out on and what they see.
Kirk, we're going to find more excuses, even if you're not doing Navy games. I just always love chatting with you, dude. You're so good. You're so good at what you do, man. Like, you were a hell of a football player, too, but you are really good at this, man. And we're going to find other excuses to call you, bro. Appreciate you doing this morning, man.
I was hoping to talk to you guys about, Dodgers and Orioles, but the Orioles let us all down.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice.
That would have been nice.
But
man.
congratulations, and thank you for taking care of our Yankees problem. We do appreciate
I didn't sleep last night. Man. Yeah, it was fireworks last night. I didn't sleep last night, fellas. It was
doubt,
going
dude.
down.
Hey, bro, we'll be in touch.
Man, appreciate
Thank you, buddy.
All right, anytime, guys. You got it.
That's Kirk Morrison. He's so good, man. I love having him on the show. He's awesome. I mean, he's a great football player, obviously, but he is so good at this. We could do that for hours. All right, and I have to apologize because our next guest has been hanging on for a minute, and Kirk Morrison was running late with us. We are transitioning into November, obviously, today being Halloween. We move into November, and everybody knows November, Salute to Service Month. Veterans Day coming up on the 11th, and the Ravens are kicking off Salute to Service Month this weekend. I want to find out a little bit more about the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation, and joining us now here on GCR, he is Colonel Harold Odie Van Opdorp, and he is with us on GCR. Colonel, it's Glenn. Sorry we are running late this morning. If you require me to do like some flutter kicks or some push-ups because of that, I will completely understand.
Hey, Glenn, first, thanks for having me this morning, and no, that will not be necessary. We're just glad to be able to talk about Salute to Service and everything that the Ravens organization is doing on behalf of the Scholarship Foundation. So you'll get a pass. But don't let it happen again.
All right, I appreciate that, Colonel. And I promise, whatever I got to do, I'll do it. I'll do it for the team. I am willing to do that. For people that don't know what the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation even is, that like they hear that set of words and they say, that sounds like a good thing. I think I'm in favor of it, but I don't know what it means. Can you give us a little bit of the history of the foundation, how it came about, and why it exists?
I would love to, because nothing brings more gratification than talking about the great work the Scholarship Foundation does. The foundation itself has been around for a little bit over 62 years, and its primary purpose, its reason for existing, is to honor Marines for their service and sacrifice. And the genesis of all this is back in New York City in the spring of 1962, there was a dinner that included a Medal of Honor recipient from World War II from the Marine Corps. And he was commiserating with his friends at dinner about how difficult it was for him to find the money to pay for his son to go to college. And so the folks at the table thought that this is a travesty, that someone who did what they did on behalf of their country during World War II is struggling to help his child get a post-secondary education. And so those folks did what Marines typically do. They took care of their own and they passed a hat. And in the end, we're able to give this hero $1,500 to help pay for his child's education. And that represents the first of over 55,000 scholarships that the foundation has awarded over the past 62 years to the tune of about $200 million. And so that is really the only thing that we do. We strive to honor Marines for everything they do, wearing the cloth of the nation. And we do it by helping them take care of one of their most precious things in their life and their responsibility. We help them send their children to college or to any kind of post-secondary education program to help them great opportunities for their lives.
That's tremendous. That's absolutely tremendous. So how did the the partnership come about with the Baltimore Ravens that I know goes beyond just the upcoming Salute to Service game?
Right. So we are in the second year of a multi-year partnership with the Ravens organization to help promote what we do for the children of Marines and sailors that serve with Marines. It started last year with a focus on salute to service. We've expanded it this year, and it will carry on for at least another year after this. And what it really is, Baltimore is a great city, has a great Marine presence, and the Ravens organization, there are a lot of similarities in the excellence that the Ravens organization strives to achieve on the football field and what we try to achieve for our organization. And it's a great market for us to get into because it's close to home. We're located, it's headquartered down here in Alexandria, Virginia. And so there are a lot of events that came together in a big confluence that said, you know what, this makes sense. And the Ravens have been terrific. We have 3 Ravens scholars through the partnership that the Ravens organization is funding. We'll have one of those scholarship recipients on the field on the 7th, helping to present the American flag for the national anthem. And so it's really just a partnership kind of driven by geography, but also very similar interests and, sort of outlook on, how to do things the right way. Because we look at the Ravens organization, and for our money, that's what right looks like. We hope they see the same in us as a philanthropic organization.
And I certainly know the Ravens have always been very involved, and John Harbaugh was the NFL Salute to Service Award winner a few years back, in particular for all of his commitment to military causes. We're going to link up a little bit more information on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio about the partnership. Colonel Harold Odie Van Opdorp is with us here on GCR. Colonel, I assume that part of the reason why we're having this conversation and you guys are involved is it's not just what the Ravens have done, but you'd like for more people to be aware and to consider if they might be willing to help support the foundation as well. Where would we guide people to say, hey, if you're you move into this time, the Salute for Service time of the year, and thinking about Veterans Day, how can we guide people and tell them what money might go to if they would consider making their own donation?
Sure. Thanks for that. So first and foremost, the Scholarship Foundation will be present at the game on Thursday night against the Bengals. We'll have 6 students there with their families. And they'll have passes and they'll be on the field beforehand. We'll also have Marines from the recruiting station there in Baltimore that will be there doing various Marine things. So if you do feel compelled to make recompense for the late start, Glenn, you can go do some pull-ups with them.
All right. Well, hey, wait. Pull-ups might be a bit trickier. I was all in for flutter kicks, Colonel. I don't know about pull-ups.
Well, you can negotiate with
all
them
right,
because
fair enough.
I bet you can talk yourself into some flutter kicks. But they'll be there. But then, throughout the month of November, the Ravens in our partnership will have different advertisements and public service announcement that's on behalf of the Scholarship Foundation talking about the good work that we do. And they'll have QR codes that will take you to our website. For those that are listening, our website is pretty straightforward. It's www.mcsf.org and then /Ravens. And that will take you to our Ravens page. But it's really, we are privately funded. We have a revenue goal of around $25 million, and we raise that only through private investment. And if you go to the website and you want to understand, hey, I'm happy to get behind this, but how do I know the return on investment is there? We will have statistics about how our students perform compared to the national average across a whole host of metrics that we track. Some of the telling ones, 91% of our students graduate within 6 years. The national average is about 56. If you advance that out to 8 years, 96% of our students graduate in 8 years. The average student GPA of a Marine or Navy scholar is about 3.45, whereas the national average, that's closer to a 3.0 or a B average. We get a renewal rate, students coming back for our scholarship at about 90%, 89 to 90%. And that's the other thing, Glenn, that we haven't mentioned. Any eligible student that applies for our scholarship is going to get an award. We are a needs-based organization. And if you demonstrate the need and you qualify, we are going to give you something. We are not limited by the number of scholarships we give out each year other than by budget. And so if we have eligible applicants, they are going to get some level of money. And the smallest scholarship we give is $2,500. And we'll renew that over 4 years. So in total, a student can at least get $10,000 from the foundation for their college education.
That's tremendous. It's tremendous stuff, and it feels like the smallest thing that we can do is a thank you for the service of these folks, is try to help them and help their family have the opportunity to move forward. That is great. Colonel, I do have to point out, I did see that you're a Notre Dame man, but I'd like to hope that, like last week when it was Notre Dame Navy, being the military man that you are, I'm sure you were obviously pulling for Navy last week, right? Like, and maybe when Army plays them in a few weeks, like, I'd like to think anyway.
So there is without question that last week's game always is a bittersweet, and I can't lose. If Notre Dame wins, then my alma mater wins. If Navy wins, then
America wins.
Yes, and the service department that gave me 30 years of a wonderful life as a United States Marine wins. And it goes without question that that second Saturday in December, I will be in Navy blue rooting for the midshipmen to pull it off.
Love that. We will accept that. That will be more than good enough. And
I'll presume that when Army and Notre Dame square off in Yankee Stadium in a couple of weeks, that we can expect, Glenn, you might be pulling for the Irish.
I can't ever say that I'm ever pulling for the Irish, Colonel. I can't. I'm one of those. It's sort of like the way that I felt. Here's what I would say. I couldn't root for the Dodgers during the World Series because I don't like the Dodgers either, but I knew damn well I wasn't rooting for the Yankees. And so it was more of like a tip my hat, acknowledge the better result afterwards type of situation. And I'm not. My grandfather was a Navy pilot, and so beyond just having Navy here in our backyard and how much we appreciate them, I have always had a great affinity for the Navy. And so yes, when Army loses, there's a small part of me that says, "Yep, that I like that. I like that." But I can't pretend that I root for Notre Dame. I can't do that.
I will tell you that I read your article that you posted about Navy and the special things that the team is doing this year, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's a terrific article, and I wish the best for Coach Newberry and the team for the rest of the year.
Special group. It's a special group despite last week's result. There's no doubt about that. Colonel, I want to make sure I say thank you for your service as well and for everything that you do for the foundation. Looking forward to next Thursday night, the Salute for Service game here in Baltimore, but would really encourage everybody to step up and maybe throw a couple of bucks the way of what you guys are doing. Appreciate you spending some time with us today, and ahead of it, happy Veterans Day.
Glenn, thanks very much. I'll also throw in there, don't forget, happy birthday to Marines on the 10th of November.
That's right.
We are on the eve of our 250th next year, so this is our 249th birthday.
I got to tell you,
that'll be something else.
I want to be the first to say you don't look a day over 232. So,
well, I appreciate that,
Colonel. Thank you. This is really appreciate you taking the time for us.
Thanks for the time and for the opportunity to talk about the great things the foundation does in partnership with the Ravens. So we appreciate it, Glenn. We appreciate all you do for us to help us out.
Thank you so much.
Semper Fidelis.
There you go. Hoorah, right? I don't know if am I allowed to say that? I don't know what the rules are. I want to show support. I mean, it's pretty. This is the other thing too. When somebody says, "Hey, would you be willing to have somebody on to talk up the?" I'm like, yeah. I think that's a low end. Yes, we like what they're doing. We support it. Yes, always. Anything that we can do to show support, damn well will. And appreciate that, and do appreciate the Ravens partnership. The Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation. Find out more, mcsf.org, again, is the website. All right, when we come back in, we're going to talk to Brandon Stokley about Ravens-Broncos. Busy Thursday here on Glenn Clark Radio. I should remind everybody, Stan the Fan, I believe the plan is they're going to do one more baseball show next Monday to wrap up the season, and then they're going to take a few weeks off to get into the off season. So Stan, Ross, and Luke coming up this Monday, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video. Brandon Stokley's next. It's GCR.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an easy pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your EasyPass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your EasyPass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, EasyPass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, we continue along on a Thursday edition of GCR. Don't forget, for the latest in high school sports news, updates, scores, schedules, rankings, all of it, the place to go is countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Private schools, public schools, every sport, every team, all across the state, they've got it for you, countysports.zone. Had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his busy schedule, but as we get ready for Ravens-Broncos on Sunday, an opportunity to catch up with our friend, the great Brandon Stokley, here on GCR. Coming up this Sunday, Ravens-Broncos here in Baltimore, which is a perfect excuse for us to catch up with one of our favorites. Of course, Super Bowl 35 champion, Ravens legend, now a host out on 104.3 The Fan in Denver. He is Brandon Stokley, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Brandon, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, you got it. Always great to catch up with you and talk a little Ravens, a little Broncos. So looking forward to it.
So how has this happened, man? Like, this was, like, supposed to be the part of the schedule that got easy for the Ravens, and, you know, they didn't even take advantage of that last week against the Browns. But, like, the Broncos weren't supposed to be good. They were supposed to be the team with the rookie quarterback that was rebuilding. How in the world have they been able to do this season?
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive. They started 0-2, so that's made it even more impressive. They went on the road and beat a good Tampa Bay team at the time, who had just got finished whipping up on Detroit, and then they went and beat the Jets on the road the next week. So they've just been playing good, solid football. Nothing real special, and the defense is playing great. And when your defense plays great and you got a young quarterback, you just got to make a few plays and not screw it up, and that's kind of been their recipe. It hasn't been, and you know, the last couple of weeks, let's be honest about the situation. They beat a New Orleans Saints team who had 100 injuries and had no one on Thursday night, and then last week they beat up on Carolina Panthers, who stink, and so. It's not like they've had a signature win. They got a couple tough games coming up, Ravens on the road and Chiefs on the road. So we'll kind of get a better, I think, barometer of who the Broncos are the next couple weeks.
You know, Brandon, I feel like it sort of touches on a question I was going to ask, which is it's weird that a team at 5-3, I still keep hearing connected to maybe they'd be looking to trade away, which is strange. Doesn't make all the sense in the world. But is that maybe because they're still not sure exactly how good they are, how much of this is sustainable all throughout the AFC and against the best teams in the conference?
Yeah, I think they're honest about their situation. They're not a Super Bowl contender. If they can be in the playoff picture in December, late December, that would be great. If they could, you know, possibly sneak into the playoffs, that would be unbelievable. So I think they're real about their situation. It's still a little bit of a rebuild. And so I think you're still taking the long-term view here. You got a young quarterback you're trying to develop, and you got a defense that's playing really good. So it's not like their window is this year. I think they realize their window is probably 2025 to maybe 2026-ish.
All right, so the defense is the part that stands out, right, significantly. But yet, I look over there, and it's not, you know, it's still, this isn't Von Miller. This isn't star-studded household names. What is it about this group that they, again, I know schedule perhaps favorable, but how have they been able to perform so well?
Yeah, schedule has helped, but they've gone out there and they've just played really good. And you're right. It's a no-name defense. You got Pat Surtain. He's the only first-round draft pick on the defense. That's it. And they got some young talent. They've got a group that plays well together. They play really good team defense, and they just compete. I mean, I think that would sum them up. They just go out there, man. They all compete at such a high level, and they just are making plays. It's been fun to watch a group that just didn't – before the season started, you didn't know how they would be. And last year it started off with Vance Joseph as the defensive coordinator. The first 5 games were terrible, and they started playing better. Didn't quite know what it would look like this year, and they've been great. But that's why it's going to be fun to watch this Ravens game, because you're talking about having to, you know, really step up and see what you're all about. Well, it doesn't get to be a bigger challenge than Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, it's, you know, that's the one pleasant part. The other side of the ball I want to talk to you about, because it hasn't been so great for the Ravens. Brandon Stokley's with us here on GCR. Do you feel like what the Broncos end up doing before the deadline might ultimately be determined by what happens on Sunday? Like, if they come to Baltimore and beat the Ravens, I can't fathom that you then turn around to that fan base and say, yeah, but we're going to trade away pieces and say that we don't think we're good enough, versus if you come into Baltimore, lose, you're sitting at 5-4, maybe it's more palatable to say, hey, this is the right thing for us to do to try to move a couple of guys still.
Yeah, I think either way they don't do a whole lot. I really don't think that they make a big move here moving forward before the trade deadline. I think I don't see them making you know, not if you could do like the Ravens and be able to get a really good receiver for a 5th or 6th round pick. Yeah, you might see them make that type of move, but I don't see a big splashy move for them either way.
So one of the names that's out there that could be available, trade away is Baron Browning. And, the Ravens are in the edge market, and this is a name that I admit, again, I didn't know a whole heck of a lot about. The stats certainly don't jump off the page at you. What's the story on Baron Browning, and how helpful could he be to a team like the Ravens if he really is on the market next week?
Yeah, good player, solid player. His big issue is just staying healthy. But he's a good pass rusher. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But you talk about, an addition for the Ravens, that would be a positive there, certainly, because you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and you're looking for help. It's hard to find pass rushers. You're not just going to find them. And I'm sure you're not going to have to give up a lot if the Broncos are trading Baron Browning. So that's I think that would be a good addition for the Ravens.
Before I want to talk to you about some Ravens stuff. I just want to get your thumbnail on what Bo Nix has actually done, because as you point out, it's certainly not splashy, but the internet is having all sorts of fun every time the Steelers play, and Russell Wilson has looked pretty good these last 2 weeks. Every dummy with the keyboard, look at the Broncos paying all this money to Russell Wilson so that he can look good for the Steelers. I would think the flip side of that would be, but the Broncos have to be happy with what they've seen so far. What has Bo Nix done? What are his limitations? What still needs to improve that he has settled in as quickly as he has in Denver?
He's just been solid, really solid. Now, when you look at what he needs to work on, sometimes his footwork gets really sped up. And he throws really with kind of off balance. So we've seen some mistakes there from him. But last week against Carolina, he was great. He really was. He had a good pocket for the most of the game. But his first half was as good as you'll see in the NFL this year. It really was awesome. So he doesn't have a lot of weapons around him, unfortunately, for him. But he makes plays with his legs. He makes plays off schedule. They can get him outside the pocket. They'll have some design runs for him also. So he's still a rookie quarterback, though. He will make some mistakes if you get some pressure on him. So I just think, like I said, biggest drawback with the Broncos offense is their running game is below average. You don't really have to worry about that too much. And their passing game, you don't have a ton of weapons. And going down this road, right. You're still trying to develop a young quarterback.
It feels like the unspoken part about this is, and I don't know that you speak on behalf of all Broncos fans, but it feels like it's sort of hey, this has been encouraging enough that no matter what happens this year, you feel good about the direction of the franchise. You just know they've got to get more good players to put around him in the coming season.
I think I just got anointed the spokesperson for Broncos country here,
yeah.
So I think I can't speak for all of Broncos country. I'll be their spokesperson just for you, Glenn. Yeah, absolutely. He's done enough to already know you're gonna continue to go down this road. There's no doubt about it. He's shown enough. You spent a first-round draft pick on him. You're paying a lot of money for Russell Wilson to be gone, and so yeah, he's already passed the eye test and checked the box, and you're going to continue to go down this road, and hopefully some of these young players for Broncos country here are going to develop around him and help him out a little bit more.
Brandon Stokley with us here on GCR. All right, you referenced it earlier. It sounds like you are in favor of the move the Ravens made. I keep coming back to whatever Diontae Johnson ends up or doesn't end up giving you, and whatever you think of his hands and some of the issues, they paid so little for him that I don't know how there could be a negative thought whatsoever to the move the Ravens made to get him.
You're spot on. What'd you give up? Who cares? If it doesn't work out, you can cut him tomorrow and just move on. It's not a big deal. I think when you look at the upside, it's well worth what you gave up for him. Right. And again, what are you doing here? Are you trying to win a Super Bowl, or are you just trying to get to the playoffs? You're trying to win a darn Super Bowl. So, you need to go for it, and they're going for it, and they're trying to give another weapon. I think, look, he was in a bad spot last year, and this past year, in Carolina. And you go to a place like Baltimore where you have a chance to win, you have a chance to be successful, and then you're a free agent at the end of the year. I mean, so he'll be on his best behavior. You'll get the best out of him this year. So I just think that what you gave up was nothing for the type of talent that he can bring to the field on any given Sunday. And I think you'll see his best with a guy like Lamar Jackson.
Well, and that's, I think, the part that a lot of people have brought up is, like, he's never really had a quarterback. Like, that's the group of guys they had in Pittsburgh was sort of a rotation of who's not, and then obviously, like Andy Dalton had a nice game this season, but that's about it. And I don't know that fixes everything. I'm sure you would tell me as a wide receiver it helps, but it would really seem like it would be the first time to really fairly judge the guy because he's never had a legitimate quality NFL quarterback to throw him the football.
Exactly, and you know what kind of what that does to a receiver when you don't have a good offense, you don't have a good quarterback, you're not getting the football, and you can just kind of go through the motion. And then you go to Carolina, it's the same thing, and then all of a sudden you go to the Ravens, and you're going to see the best coverages ever. It's going to be one-on-one all the time. It's a breath of fresh air. You'll be able to make plays that are off schedule and play on a good offense where it's not just the defense is going to be paying a lot of attention to you. So I think you're going to get a really good Diontae Johnson, and I think it's going to be end up being a really good trade for the Ravens.
So we kind of have the opposite of 2000 playing out in Baltimore here in 2024, right? Where like the offense is otherworldly. It's one of the greatest units we've ever seen, not just in Baltimore history, but arguably one of the great offenses we've ever seen ever. And yet the defense has been, it's been rough. Like, it has just not been good. And I don't think they're this bad, but, you're 8 games into the season. You kind of are what the numbers say you are. I guess it's twofold. Can you win? You guys won a Super Bowl with an offense that didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Can you win a Super Bowl without having a high-level defense? And then, or two, like, is it imperative that the Ravens still make one more move, go out and get a quality edge rusher? We were just talking about Baron Browning, something to help in the secondary if they want to get past the Chiefs and finally get through and win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think you got to be aggressive if you're the Ravens. Continue to be aggressive to add pieces, like you said, especially defensively now. If there's someone out there where it makes sense for you and you're getting a good deal, like you did on Diontae Johnson, then, yeah, I think you go for it. Because, again, your standard, your expectations is to win a Super Bowl. And I think defensively, when you look at them, okay, yeah, they've struggled. You look at possibly getting some guys back healthy later in the season. And then you got a new defensive coordinator there, and things can sometimes take a little time to gel when you got a new coordinator. So I would, and you ask, can you win with this offense and the defense playing average or below average? Yeah, you can. When you have a special quarterback, a guy that can do everything that Lamar can do, a special running back like Derrick Henry, yes, you can.
I want to go back, if I could, because that parallel to 2000, like, did you guys, was there like a sort of an understanding with the defense, like, hey, like, we know, we understand that we got to do a little bit more, and I'm not, trying to belittle anybody that was part of that football team, but it was what it was, right? Like, was there something like that? Does that have to exist for a team like the current Baltimore Ravens, where, like, there does have to be more onus on the offense? Like, hey, yes, sure, you were better than the other side of the ball, but you need to be even better than that for this team to have a chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've been on both sides of it. I've played on one of the best
That's
offenses.
true, right?
In the
Peyton Manning, yeah. That's a great point.
So, and we really couldn't rely on our defense all that much. And guess what? That was fine. I don't care. Hey, they give up 40, we got to score 41. That was our mindset. And then when I played with the Ravens and we weren't very good offensively, we had, the best defense ever. Those guys just went out there and they balled out. They never pointed fingers at us. There was a standard there also. Hey, we got to hold the other team below, what we score, and that's what we got to do. Now, hopefully, we can score more than 0 points and make that possible of our defense. But that's the way those guys were, right? They knew that they were the strength of the team. We knew in Indy, offensively, we were the strength of the team, and sometimes it's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult, but, hey, that's just the way it is.
That's a great point, man. That's a very, very good point. No doubt about it. All right. I love you. Of course, at B Stokley 14 on Twitter is how you follow him. Despite the fact that he was the one Ravens player ever to beat me in Papa Shot basketball, I still have great respect for this man, Brandon Stokley. I'm telling you, man, it's the one blemish on my record, and I'll never be over it. I'll never be okay with it. Oh,
yeah, I know. We might not ever have another rematch either. So my athletic ability is declining rapidly as I get older.
Oh, I don't believe that.
I'll probably never give you a rematch.
I
sorry
don't
about
believe
that.
Hey, did your kids ever see pictures of how you used to? Have you are they aware of the swag that Brandon Stokley had as a young man coming into the NFL?
Probably not. Probably not. No, I don't think they are. They just think I'm an old, grumpy old man that's way past his time.
Dude, love you. You're the best. Always appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on.
All right.
It's Brandon Stokley with us here on GCR ahead of Ravens-Broncos on Sunday. We will come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular, and we will wind things down for a Thursday edition of the program.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Brooks Dubose profiles Maryland basketball forwards Derek Queen and Julian Reese as the Baltimore-built duo reunites in College Park with hopes of bringing the Terps back to prominence. Also inside, meet college basketball players from all of the area's D1 programs. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores, where you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, winding down for a Thursday edition of the program before I get out of here to take my kid. Do you know the kids have a half day today? this is
not for Halloween.
I don't know.
Is it like a
I think it's one of those things
teacher-
where they say it's not. Like they say it's for, but it's
Meetings, teacher
really
meetings or
because it's Halloween. They purposely put it on this day. I don't know if it's in public schools or not. I just know that my kids have been talking about it all week. Like, we only have a half day on Halloween. I'm like, what the?
Don't know about public
What
schools.
is going on around here? I didn't have one when I was growing up.
No, I don't.
What the hell is happening?
Never. I don't think ever.
But
No,
it comes off very much like the parents are like, well, you know, the kids want to go out trick-or-treating, so it'd be kind of nice to have a little bit more time to get them ready.
home. I mean,
Like,
yeah,
God damn, man. And, like, somebody would say, I don't know, maybe that's smart. Maybe it should be that way because they're going to do it anyway, so it's better to do it. They have a half day today. Half day. So I got to get out of here, and I got to get ready to go take them trick-or-treating.
Hell yeah.
But I do think that they are
Love
they're 9-7 right now, so I don't think they're far off from when I don't have to be involved with the trick-or-treating anymore. Like I can just because I don't mind being the guy that stays back because we don't trick-or-treat. We don't have neighbors.
Right.
We don't live in a neighborhood. So we go. There's like you want to walk 15 minutes, you could go to one house. There ain't any trick-or-treating going on where we live. So we go to her mother's house. She lives in a lovely cul-de-sac. She lives in an area where there's plenty of trick-or-treating going on. In fact, I'm pretty sure every year we look around, we're like, I don't think any of these kids live here.
That's kind of our neighborhood too. Ours is it's a lot of it's a big, you know.
A lot of people drive in.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fight for parking spots. Holy hell. That's part of the reason. Like when I tell my wife I won't be there until like close to 5 o'clock.
She's like, well, don't bother.
Yeah. Oh my God. It gets very close to. There's gonna be nowhere to park. This is gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna be. Her mother leaves on Halloween night. She makes plans with friends. She's like, we're gonna go to dinner. We're gonna go have some wine, and we'll be back eventually. Like she wants to see the kids in their costumes, and then she's done. Like the moment she's seen the kids in the costumes, she's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with any of this. Now, I don't mind being the guy sitting back at the house handing out candy to other people. Like, I would prefer to do that.
You sit in the driveway or the porch, or you?
I'm a porch man.
Okay.
Yeah. Sit there with the bucket and the porch.
You don't need to hear the doorbell or the door knocking.
No. I don't drink anymore. Like all of the everybody in that neighborhood, like they'll like start fires. They have it's like half a tailgate party.
Yeah, that's
like,
what my mom likes to do.
Yeah, a lot of drinking, a lot of charcuterie going on, the whole thing. Me, I would just be content to sit on the porch and, kids come up, dump a little candy in the bag. I am the type, though, that runs out of candy quickly because I'll, give them, a whole handful, right?
I got to go to your house.
And then all of a sudden be like, what the hell happened here? So I'm all for whatever. Mrs. Clark is still like, no, you have to come walk around with us. And I know the kids don't, but, I get it. They're still right on the edge of when we can just let them go because they're still idiots that wouldn't look both ways before they cross the street. We're still dealing with
sometimes
some of that
I also don't.
Oh, yeah. I've seen your act. All right. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by Live Casino and Hotel.
$7 in free slot play. Got to get out there on a Sunday during Baltimore or Washington home games. Baltimore's back home this Sunday. Taking on Denver. So make sure you get out there every time the Baltimore Washington scores a touchdown during home game. $7 in free slot play for Live Rewards members who have their Live Rewards card inserted correctly and directly into the slot machine. Any slot machine on the floor actively playing in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slot play. At Arundel Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, what you got?
Sarah Langs was having a great night. Just head over to her page if you want some bonus stats as well, but some of my favorites. Trailing in the World Series, going into last night, trailing by 5 runs or more in the World Series game, 6-227.
But it never happened in a clinching game, right? Nobody had ever.
She did not specify.
I'm pretty sure
one of them was a game 6, so it was the Did the Angels win in 2002?
No.
Oh
no, they did, but they won in game 7. Sorry,
okay.
They beat the Giants,
that was not
but it did go to game 7.
So they trailed in game 6 by 5. They came back. The Philly, that was a game 1. We had a couple game 4s. 96. Did the Yankees sweep in 96?
No.
Then this was not a clincher either?
No, they won in 6 because they were down 2-0 in that series.
Toronto. Toronto was a game for Toronto in '93. Did they?
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Then no. Then this was the first clincher as well for a team trailing by 5 runs. 7-227 now. Teams trailing by 5 in a World Series game.
How about that?
So Walker Buehler becomes the 8th pitcher to record a win as a starter and a save in the same postseason series.
The Angels were down 5-0 going into the 7th inning of Game 6 of the 2002 World Series. Scored 3. I don't remember that.
Fourth.
I have a lot of memories of that World Series because I was working a wedding I was a wedding DJ at the time. I was just a DJ in general.
Married during the World Series.
I had it was a friend of a friend who had hired me to work this wedding in the Outer Banks, and it was the weekend of
That's pretty cool.
the weekend of both Game 6 and Game 7. As I remember, like it was.
Who were they playing?
What's that?
Who were the Angels playing that year?
The Giants.
The Giants, okay.
And I remember, maybe it was, okay. So there's a couple different things going on. I was a young man. I was 19 years old at the time. So I couldn't go out drinking. Like, I remember the wedding.
Well.
First of all, I knew the groom a little bit, but he was like a friend's brother. And I remember saying something like, "Oh man, this is cool. Like, I'll look forward to being down there with you guys," because they had taken care of my hotel, the whole thing, and they were paying me quite handsomely because it was lucrative to work weddings. And I remember saying something like, "Oh, well, I'll just hang out with you guys." And I remember the groom, who I thought was cool, he's like, "You're not 21. We're not going to be doing that."
I thought he was cool.
I thought he was like, I thought we were friends. He was like, "We're going out to bars while we're in the Outer Banks, and you won't be able to join us
That's
for
what
that."
It sounded like too.
Like, okay, guy, thanks a lot. Like, so then I just invited a random girl. I mean, when I say random, I mean
what else are you supposed to do at the Outer Banks?
Rando girl to take the trip to the Outer Banks. And I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm not. Like, I got to do this wedding. I got to do the rehearsal. I got to do a lot of things. So I'll see you when I see you. But you can go to the beach. Like, we're staying right on the beach.
It was in October.
So,
how was the beach? I guess it was.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't like you weren't gonna get in the water, but it was fine. And she went, and as it turns out, she was an S show. And all I remember is I tried to put the World Series game on when I got back to the hotel after the wedding. And I wish I could remember what it was. She was watching something and was hammered. And I did not know this girl very well. And I said, "Hey, Griffin, I wish I could." It would make the story better if I could tell you that it was
90210 maybe.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was 90210. It was a Saturday night, so something that would have been on a Saturday.
SNL?
I don't know. No. And I said, "Hey, I want to put the baseball game's not over. I'd like to put the baseball game on." And she made a noise that was like, "Nah!"
And you were like,
and I left. I left. I was like, I don't know this girl well enough. What?
You had to drive back with her?
Well, I still had to drive back to Baltimore with her,
Yeah.
But, and then on the way back, this is another story. It was in the midst of the legendary DC Sniper.
Oh, jeez.
So we're driving back, and I stopped to get gas, and I find out that, like, because this is, before you would get updates to your phone, like you needed to listen to the radio or watch the news or something like that. Apparently, the place that I stopped to get gas was right across the street from a gas station that had been hit the day before.
Oh, my God.
And so there's a lot of hubbub. I just want to get gas. This girl is, like, walking across the street, like, trying to find out, like, what's going on. She's a nice girl. She was just a little nuts.
Where's she now? You don't know.
She comes back and she says, "You want to work in news, right?" And I was like, "News? I mean, kinda. I don't know. Like,
no, I'm a wedding DJ.
Yeah, right. What is this?" She's like, "They just said they need someone to hold a microphone for a press conference, and they'll pay you $300 if you do it."
So you did it.
And I was like right now, like, because we were still a ways away from Baltimore. She's like, "Yeah, right now." And it wasn't right now. It was like an hour from then. So, yeah, we just ended up staying, and I held a microphone for, I don't even remember what station it was. And the guy paid me $300 cash.
Wow.
$300 cash.
Risking your life.
For doing nothing. for doing
nothing.
nothing.
You risked your life. It was...
Yeah, I did. I risked my life. That's a good point. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was a good story. I don't know where.
It wasn't really a good
now.
story. It was like pieces of a good
Kinda,
story.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it could be refined. Fourth World Series pitcher. That's what it was. Fourth World Series pitcher to get a win as a starter and record a save in the World Series. So Walker Buehler. Any idea the other World Series?
Randy Johnson or was it Kurt Schilling? I swear to God.
No.
Oh, because the Diamondbacks had to come back and score in the bottom of the ninth inning. So yeah. Then I have no idea.
Well, you should know one. The one that happened in the past decade.
You say I should know it. Like I might be able to remember it. It's not
2014 World Series MVP.
2014 World Series MVP. Who is the MVP of the 2014 World Series?
Your World Series, your mid-2000s World Series knowledge is way better than your 2010s World Series.
So, okay. All right, hang on a second. Well, we know that was the Royals and the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the MVP of the 2014 World Series? Lincecum?
No. 2 wins as a starter and the save.
Bumgarner?
Matt Bellum, yes.
I don't remember the save. I don't remember being
it was either
MVP,
Game 6 or Game 7. I forget what. Maybe they didn't go to 7. I don't know. Or was that when they rolled over the Royals? I forget. Or it was the next year the Royals rolled over the Mets.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mad Bum, other World Series.
That was a 7-game World Series.
It was. Okay. Yes. Maybe it was Game 7. I don't know. Because if he got 2 wins as a starter, it might have been.
He was.
He
got the save in Game 7.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Madison Bumgarner was impressive. That series. Catfish Hunter
pitched 5 scoreless innings in relief in Game 7. So it wasn't came in the 9th inning. He got a 5-inning save.
Jeez. Walker Buehler had a heck of a series. If it wasn't for Freddie Freeman, might be a case for.
Yeah, it would have been in the conversation.
Yeah. Catfish Hunter and Jack Billingham, the other World Series pitchers,
of course,
to do this.
Yes.
Oral Hershiser, Kevin Millwood, Clayton Kershaw, and Ranger Suarez all did.
We
this
all called him
in,
Beeham. Those of us that knew him well.
Yeah. Beeham? Jack Beeham?
Yeah, Jack Beeham.
Sarah Langs also points out 5th consecutive World Series that Will Smith has won.
That's right. I did see that last night.
Will Smith,
the catcher, and then Will Smith, the pitch. Yeah,
with the Dodgers in 2020, they did win a COVID World Series, and then Will Smith.
By the way, that was kind of hearing the players themselves kind of acknowledge that we needed a real one. I feel bad. In a way, because it was the World Series that happened, but that's all that it was. It wasn't a World Series. It was the best of what we could do. And we can't pretend like it was something beyond that. The closest that you can come up with, the Super Bowl the Buccaneers won, I don't think people view that one as a lesser than, despite the fact that we know it was a goofy season where fans weren't at games.
It was Wednesday afternoon football.
They played all of the games, though. That's part of it. And there wasn't a giant, it's twofold. We don't treat that World Series like it was real because it was a effing 60-game season. That's not a baseball season. That's nothing close to a baseball season. I don't know how they feel in hockey. Maybe I think it was the Lightning that won that one. Maybe hockey fans feel like there was some legitimacy to it.
You think it has any sense because the Lightning did win the following year as well?
And I do think that goes a long way as to why there might be legitimacy to it. I think the particular reason why basketball fans, it's not, some people just do it to clown on LeBron, but it really is the pause that happened in the season. Yes, it was goofy that they were playing games in front of no one, but whatever, they still played the games. The pause had such a role with allowing for a player at that age to be fresher. There's no world in which we believe that the same result would have happened had there not been such a lengthy pause within the season. So, again, it's baseball and basketball that I know are particularly unique that we just don't, and ironically, LA wins both of them, that we just will never be able to treat those as legitimate championships. And in a way, I know they're frustrated that they've had to deal with that over the years, and the players that weren't still on the Dodgers, that were part of that 2020 team, however they want to feel about it, they can feel however they want to feel about it. But you could hear from the guys that were on the team, like immediately after the game, Mookie Betts, Blake Trinan, Walker Buehler, all the guys that were doing interviews, like immediately acknowledging, yeah, we needed to win a real one.
Yeah,
like
I think Magic was on the MLB Network one, and he was like, "Oh, we get to have a parade now too."
Yeah, they kept talking about like the parade as being the differentiator, but it really was about like no one takes that seriously. It's just not legitimate. And I appreciate they wanted sports to come back, and at that time in our country, we needed the distractions, but you couldn't pretend like they meant the same as other people's championships. They just didn't.
I have a long one. I think I'll save it for tomorrow. Freddie Freeman, though, ties the record for most RBI in a single World Series.
Okay. 12
RBI.
I don't who did he tie?
It is a tough one. 1960 with the Yankees.
Sure.
Not going to be any of your usual calls.
Roger Maris.
No. It was, it's Bobby Richardson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bobby Richardson, a 12 RBI in the 1960 World Series. He is the 7th guy with at least 10 RBI in a World Series. Any idea who the others could potentially be?
Reggie Jackson.
No Reggie.
It's a little surprising. His name is
another guy in
legitimately...
another guy in the 1960 World Series. Wasn't he?
It's not Roger Maris.
It's not Roger Maris.
Mickey Mantle?
Mickey Mantle had 11 in that same
How about
series.
that?
Yes. One more Yankee in the 56 World Series.
It's not Mickey Mantle?
No, not Mickey Mantle.
Yogi
Berra, yeah. Okay. 10 RBI in the 1956 World Series. There's a White Sox in the 1959 World Series. I can't pronounce his last name.
Sure.
Ted Kluszewski?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I did pretty good on that.
Teddy Ballgame.
Yeah. Ted Kluszewski. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
And then two more they had in the 2011 World Series, member of the Texas Rangers.
Josh Hamilton.
Not Josh Hamilton. He wasn't on the...
He was on the 2011 Rangers?
Really? I guess. Okay, well, maybe I'm just thinking because they didn't win, so that was my...
He was on one of those.
I could have
sworn
he
was.
You're right, then I think he was. Because he hit the... Wait, when did he hit the 4 home runs? Is that 10? I guess that was 11.
Nelson Cruz.
Not Nelson Cruz.
Oh, boy, we could be... Ian Kinsler.
Not Ian Kinsler.
Elvis Andrus.
He was the catcher.
Oh, Napoli.
Mike Napoli at 10 RBI as they lost the 2011 World Series to Texas Rangers. And then in the 97 World Series with the, unfortunately, the Cleveland baseball team.
Who also lost.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Bell.
Not Albert Bell.
Jim Thome.
Not Jim Thome.
Kenny Lofton.
Not Kenny Lofton.
Was Marquise Grissom on that team? Do I remember that right?
I don't know. It was not him.
Manny. Oh, Manny Ramirez.
No, not Manny.
Cool.
Doing a good job, though, in your 97.
Tony Fernandez hit the home run against the Orioles.
It was not Tony Fernandez, although Tony Fernandez did have 9 in the 93 World Series.
How about that?
With the Blue Jays.
I'm trying to think of who else was on that team. I don't think it was Omar Vizquel.
No.
Sandy Alomar?
Alomar Jr. had 9 RBI in the he had 10 RBI in the 97 World Series with Cleveland.
Yikes. All right, that was an adventure. Yeah. Let's do the thing.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here is what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise, NFL week. I don't like saying the words week 9. I keep talking about this is the midway point, like
it's almost over.
Life without football is.
Well, we got
a
lot more weeks.
I am not a good existential dread is a real issue for me, dog. Like I don't know how to explain it. Week 9 kicks off Amazon Prime Video for Texans Jets at 8:15. College football tonight on ESPN. Tulane against Biff Poggi and Charlotte at 7:30. Capitals tonight host the Canadiens at 7 o'clock on Monumental, ESPN Plus and Hulu for Oilers Predators at 8, NBA TV, Bucks Grizzlies at 8, Suns Clippers at 10:30, Access TV for TNA Impact at 8. Non-sports?
Let's see. Anthony Anderson, of course.
I did start Agatha last night. I was on the bike after the World Series game ended, and so I started Agatha. I got like 30 minutes into one episode.
Anthony Anderson will be on Kimmel, of course, for Buy It More or Buy It Now. Buy It Now, the Prime show.
Sure.
Hopefully we get some previews tonight during Thursday Night Football.
Sure.
Anthony Mackie will be on Fallon. I couldn't figure out. I think it's a new movie coming out. Elevation. It's like a post-apocalyptic in the Rocky Mountains. It's like Quiet Place. They had to find a new gimmick for this, for doing weird things. So it looks like there's some creature took over the planet, but it can't breathe above like 8,000 feet. So everyone lives in the Rocky Mountains. He's got to find medicine for his son, I think, and venture back down to the hospitals below 8,000 feet.
You got it.
Looks interesting. Might be. I think
Maybe.
it could work. Season 2 of The Diplomat on Netflix. It's like Kerry Russell is. It's like some like politics
I do
show,
remember
I think.
it. But
I think it's like kind of like the new House of Cards or something more or less. With Kerry Russell, big one. Despicable Me 4 is now streaming on Peacock.
I think we saw that. I think
I didn't see it.
I think I took the kids to the theaters for that one.
I'll be checking out that one, I think. That's it. For the others, go to glennclarkradio.com.
Thanks today to Brandon Stokley. Thanks also to KZ, to Kirk Morrison, and Anish Shroff.
Yes.
We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Here we go.
Yeah, nothing. Tab at glennclarkradio.com. That's what we do here. Tomorrow, Stan will be in with us. Bo Smolka will join us as he does every Friday. Gio Bernard is on the program tomorrow. He's doing national radio for Ravens on Sunday. Stuff and things.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, as well as Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Casa Sin, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go nobody. Duke sucks.